will say, in the image of the Bombard, those are the largest cannonballs I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're big.
My friends, I want to come back to the individual rankings for a moment. We have the Ottomans. They have one of the largest ranges of any civ. They have a range of 50. So the lowest rank given to the Ottomans was 60. The highest was 10. Now that the highest ranker isn't with us, so he can't defend his ranking of 10.
Oh shit!
The ranking of 60 is with us. Does that person want to own up and say?
Hello, I ranked in 60th place.
Why do you think the Ottomans are the 60th best civ on this?
I have a lot of faith in Manoa.
That isn't the answer I expected.
I wish I had as much faith in Manoa as you do.
I have about as much faith in Manoa as I have faith that my managers at my work are competent.
Oof. No,
I mean, it occasionally can happen, and I'd be pretty surprised to see it happen.
No, it's not Manoa. It's, if anything, it's the combination of Czechia and Palmyra. I feel like Palmyra can cut them off from going east, Czechia can cut them off from going west, then they'll run into Manoa and be bogged down long enough for Manoa for one of the two civs to get them.
It is true that they have powerful neighbours and not a lot of room to expand. I think 60th is a bit harsh.
Yeah, I ranked them lower than the U-Peak, and I ranked them lower than
You ranked them lower than everyone apart from Haiti, I think.
Yep.
My Hail Mary, best possible outcome that I could predict is Manoa taking Constantinia. That's if I had to say this is how I want CBRX to go, that's what it'd be. I just don't see it happening.
I will say, I think I put them at 60 at the same time I had U-Peak at 7th, and I think I might have just gone to change it.
Yeah, U-Peak were an interesting civ where they were ranked very highly, very early on by a lot of people, and then we saw
everyone realized they were shit.
And we were like, oh god, put them down.
Lower the rankings. Steady now. I said steady.
The Ottomans do border Venice too. That's another avenue for expansion.
Yeah.
They generally don't, but that's because Czech Republic tend to get in the way. Venice don't really expand east, so the Czech Republic kind of fill that gap.
Basically, Czechia are one of those civs that in Europe, whoever they decide to expand towards just dies.
Most of the time. Well, we'll get to that. Shall we go to number 40 now? Oh my god, we're a third of the way through.
Oh my god, it's been an hour and a half.
It's been an hour and a half. I think straight up we should divide this video into portions.
It's been 2 hours 20. What are you talking about?
We're having fun. Time flies when you're having fun.
Video because I had lost connection, so I just stopped it there. Just halfway through the Ottoman discussion. So this is now.
We have the archive.
Yep.
Basically, Ottoman recap. I ranked them 60th because I'm smooth brain. So.
Oh yeah, live. It says it's been live for 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 44 seconds. That's with a 30-minute setup. We've been here for 3 hours. Everyone, give yourself a round of applause.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Your prize is talking about Muscovy.
Come on.
Come on.
My condolences. I am very apologetic.
I had to know the reins of the power ranker leader to someone else. Goodbye.
See you,
all right.
J-Man.
Goodbye, J-Man. Gabank.
See you, J-Man.
Okay.
I'm
going to discuss.
This is so generous.
I have Muscovy for real in 59th. So I'm gonna say my piece first, if you don't mind, and then you guys can go. Muscovy suck. They suck every stream. They shouldn't. They really shouldn't suck. They have a lot of space to expand. But they have two things counting against them. Those things are Goths and Sami. We will talk about both of those at length later, I'm sure. But holy cow, they just get eaten every time. I said before that Prussia barely haven't seemed to have a good test. Even they have had tests where they've not been awful. They've just been boring. I have never seen a test game of this game of the CBRX where Muscovy have managed to keep more than 2 cities by turn 100. They're awful, and I am gobsmacked they are this high. One of my lowest ranked civs on the cylinder. But carry on.
I don't remember them being quite that awful. Maybe my memory is just bad and I wasn't paying attention. But I do remember them certainly not being anything to write home about. Like I remember I know they declared wars a lot, but really never took anything from anyone else. They would just fall flat, throw their armies through the forest, and then come out the other side with nothing.
Yeah, they're Prussia. They're like Prussia. They're like other civs that have good uniques, but the AI lets them down.
Annoyingly,
Annoyingly,
this is going to be kind of a one-sided chat because I'm looking through the individual rankings now, and there's a 12 there and there's a 16 there. There are some really high rankings. Just bizarrely, it's all the people who aren't here. So we're going to seem really negative about them compared to the general PR view.
Look at your average D20 die. Roll it. Did you roll a 19 or higher? Congratulations. You can now roll it again. Did you also get another 19 or higher? That is about the average chance that Muscovy can be to make it into a theoretical 2.1 scenario. I earnestly expect them to be eliminated part 4.
Why couldn't you just say 1 in 100? That's a 1 in 100 chance. You could.
Well, I like Dungeons and Dragons, so
yeah, me too.
Anyways,
Civ Battle Royale RPG coming soon to shops near you.
All right, let's see. Anyways, Muscovy is the critical example of bad. They shouldn't be bad. They should be great, but they are awful. Every time I see a war, it's like they lose all of their units. An opportunistic war gets declared. Golden Horde sweeps in. Uruguay come out of nowhere. No, they don't. Kazakhs come out of nowhere. I don't know how I got those two confused.
Golden Horde.
I just assumed it was a joke.
I honestly made that mistake. But yeah, either way, they
RKO
are awful. I
want to give a shout out.
I want them to be great. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. I wanted to give a shout out to Kukateni Tripelia. He should have been there.
I agree. Or Ukraine, or like the Teutonic Order, or any
Teutonic Order.
Nice. If we were having Baltics, I'd pick Latvia. Actually, I really like Latvia.
Hiram's Latvia is underrated.
Very underrated.
Okay, so
and Muscovy wins on the account of sounding awesome and having a rather nice, albeit common color scheme,
but
and
we
just
voted in
embodying badassness.
Also, everyone says that this battle royale is a one filled with purple civs. As one making sides know, it's filled with brown and beige civs. Like I can't count on my fingers.
Selknam are both brown and beige.
Yeah, so there's so many brown and beige civs, and Muscovy just to me seems like another one of them.
Yeah, I think the thing about the thing that really gets me is that we've voted in the least interesting Muscovy because the LS one is Russian States of Mind, which I don't like, but I have to admit that it's one of the most creative game mechanics out there.
Yeah, I do agree with random_strategy_.
That's Aaron.
That's Aaron. He's a power ranker.
Oh, who's that? I don't know.
Aaron
who is there's two A's, too complicated.
Aaron.
Random_strategy.
He literally has a comment on this.
Aaron.
Oh, Aaron. Oh, okay. Okay, my apologies. Either way, I like random_strategy better. Either way, Vanilla Russia would have been better. Straight up.
Luna, he's in this call.
I know, I'm making fun of it.
Okay.
CBRX dating sim when, guys?
Big titty goth GF.
For some reason, I kind of, when I was thinking of what that was, I thought it was like a.
Speaking of big titty goth GFs, maybe we should move on to the goths.
Yeah.
Are they next?
Yeah,
yes.
The goths and the this is a crime against ranking.
The goths are one rank above the Muscovy.
Yes.
Who writes this?
We do.
So just,
I literally said on the slide I would put them down.
I have Muscovy in 59th. I have the Goths in actually only 29th, so not that much higher, but still a hell of a lot higher.
I have the Goths at 52.
I have the Goths at 29th as well, and I have to say I rank them higher because they can actually conquer stuff. Like a lot of these civs in the area can't conquer stuff. The Goths, they can do it, and they love doing it. I mean, what more could you ask for? Like they actually take over their neighbors which is exactly the strategy you need in Europe.
The Goths are the exact kind of civ you want in a civ battle royale, especially early on, because they just don't they don't sit back. They're always attacking somebody. They're always building an army to go march into somewhere else. Their problem, which happens to them basically every game they're in, is they overextend themselves. They make too many enemies, and eventually they declare war on every single one of their neighbors and get surprised when apparently they can't do that. Apparently you can't battle everyone. So,
the Goths AI, I think this is the not Last Sword Goths, if I'm not mistaken. The Last Sword Goths I think are actually a bit better, but these Goths they're cool. I mean, they'll be interesting, but yeah, they're not going to win.
Weirdly, or maybe fittingly, from what I know about the Last Sword Goths, their AI behaves incredibly similarly. They're basically the exact same thing that I described. They're expansive, they declare war on all their neighbors, and eventually they get fucked up because they made too many.
They're basically the Huns.
It's just such a shame. Yeah. It's just such a shame that the Goths are placed in such a spot where they're kind of crushed in between the Golden Horde, Prussia, and Muscovy.
And Czechia.
Otherwise, probably been a top 20 civ. Oh yeah,
if they were just the other side of the Golden Horde, I would agree they'd be top 20 easily. With just
if instead of Czechia, if we'd had like Wallachia or something, or like a Balkan civ instead of Czechia, which is so high up, Goths would probably like be really good.
Goths thrive though when they have weak neighbors to pick on early. Now they do in this, as it happens. They have Muscovy, who they will almost definitely conquer.
The Golden Horde get there first.
One space below. Yeah. Other than Muscovy, they don't have too many civs that will be complete pushovers. Prussia will at least offer up a defense. The Golden Horde are pretty damn decent. Czechia are pretty damn decent, and eventually the Sami come in from the north. And they are.
Yeah, we haven't got the Sami. There's a reason why the Sami and the Vikings are both top 10.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we should move on.
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Libya.
So we're talking about my boys, my children.
This is my single favorite PR slide image.
Libya has a problem in that it's next to Nubia, and that doesn't mean that Libya is going to lose cities to Nubia. It means, but because Libya only builds ranged units, they basically throw their army against their neighbors endlessly without taking anything, but it does a lot of damage. And this is what I've said about how being next to Nubia is a disadvantage, but being next to a civ that's next to Nubia is an advantage.
Yeah.
So,
and also Nubia do the same thing where they'll build 1,000 chariot archers and never actually build melee units.
Well, that's what I was saying. But Libya has that problem.
You said that Libya was the one making the army that just dismantled armies but didn't take.
No, I said Nubia was doing that, and that's still a bad thing for Libya, because the Nubian army runs all over their territory, pillaging stuff and killing units, even though it doesn't.
Well, we could actually end up with.
I was just going to say, you see what Libya is capable of, just because it does settle a lot of cities. That, enough to counteract the fact that it rarely tries to actually settle the desert, which is, the tiles it's supposed to be going for. But then you go over to it, Nubia attacks it all the fucking time. And the civ that's supposed to have a ton of great generals and a huge army is just, piecemeal. And Algeria looks at it and goes, ooh, I can take land. And then Libya can't respond because either A, it doesn't have an army, or B, it can't go across the Tel Atlas Mountains for some reason.
Yeah. The situation
the only method of attack is north or south.
Yeah, the situation that we end up with is actually similar to Congo versus Ashanti, where the Congo drumroll warriors just destroyed the Ashanti military, and that's what led to Morocco sniping the capital.
Ashanti have drumroll warriors. That's their.
Oh, other way around then. But yeah, the Congo war destroyed the Ashanti military, and then Morocco took their capital.
I think people are being too harsh on Libya here.
But yeah,
from my experience in test runs, Libya tends to nab up the Mediterranean coastline pretty handily. Weirdly, for a coastline with Minoa, with Venice, with the Ottomans, with all these civs that you'd think would be the Moors, you think we'd have better navies. I always tend to find Libya tend to get a pretty decent control on the Med. I think in many ways, you could almost think of them as a quasi-European civ, almost a bit like Carthage were in Mark II, where a lot of their impact was in Europe, less so in Africa. I think that's probably where Libya are going to stand in this game as well.
They've taken Minoa's capital a few times, haven't they?
Yes, and it's very confusing because they have such similar colors.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
another thing which is kind of important to note is that more often than not, Libya is either the first or second civilization to found a religion. And I think that's very important, especially in a game where religion is going to play a much more important role in the CB.
As a person who made the mod, I can definitely confirm religion is impactful in ways that I was not expecting. When I scrolled over a couple test games, to see an absolute field of what do they call those things? Forts. Yeah, that's what it's called. To see a field of forts. Like they only give I think it's a couple food and gold, and it's like a reformation. So I'm like, dude, but to see an entire country just churn into that, it's amazing. Some civs do really weird things when they have powers that they don't understand. And it's really impactful. To be the owner of a religion is to really be able to shape the dynasty and the kind of futures and the gameplay strategies. All of this from a rather shoddily made XML mod, which, while not on the workshop, it is available on the CBR Discord. Check pin messages and CBR discussion, etc., etc.
We got to say, just on a side note, religion has kind of been buffed in this game. There's a lot of new beliefs to make way for the fact that there's about 16 religion slots now, not 7. So, and a lot of those beliefs are a lot more powerful, a lot handier than the vanilla ones.
Yeah, food from desert is the main one.
Will anyone pick those beliefs? I don't know. But
Goddess of protection.
Yeah, that again.
For the 5,000th time.
I think the other thing I want to point out about you mentioned building forts. So yeah, the AI does builds and stuff, not necessarily based on like the intelligence of doing it and the future stuff, on how much it gets now. So like with Svalbard, I had the thing of the climatologist building the unique unit on certain tiles, almost unintentionally. But like a human, I was wondering why it did it. But yeah, it's just because it sees what the biases come up as what it wants. And the AI will prioritize doing that with a religion. So it's quite interesting. Moving on to Nubia, though, the slayer of militaries.
Fitting their rank together.
So yeah, Nubia. My comment isn't on here, which is I'm feeling a Nubia gangbang because I feel like Nubia are just going to get declared on by Beta and Libya and die. So I have them ranked really low. What does everyone else think?
I don't know if they're gonna. Well, they're hard to invade, but they also don't really expand. They were in the AI Middle East, and they only ever founded 2 cities, but they grew them to massive size, and then it had a massive carpet of ranged units, and so nobody was able to take them for a long time. They
were entertaining. Yeah. Nubia are kind of predictable, actually, from the test games currently. They're one of those classic civs, which you see a lot in AI games, which love their ranged units and build a ton of ranged units. You see this with Mongolia most iconically of the vanilla civs, where they build a shit ton of ranged units, which of course are a really great unit to have for taking down armies, and a great unit to have for taking down city health, but they can't capture cities. And the AI isn't clever enough to move its ranged units out of the way to make way for melee units. So Nubia tends to be one of those civs that really, really like camping outside enemy cities for a long time, and then eventually making peace without taking any cities in the peace declaration. They do this in the test run all the time with Minoa when they settle in Africa, and with Beta Israel to the south of them. So I can see that kind of happening again. That said, as in the Middle East, those ranged units also mean they're really hard to take down. So we could be seeing them sticking around as a minor power for quite a while.
Yeah. So basically, they're like Kurikuro, but they survive because military.
Better than that.
Yeah.
I was going to say they're like Vietnam from Mark II, except they're not actually going to make any kills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, Viet Cong, yeah.
That was incredibly comprehensive. I see him as a middle power. I could see them breaking out. I don't see them breaking out onto the world stage, but I could see them existing. They will exist.
And that's why they're ranked in the middle. Let's go.
They're kind of like, I think, actually the Allens in a lot of the games I've played, where they might occasionally somehow acquire a military unit, and then they'll just, if they can get it to a city, if they just get that military unit there, they will take cities, but otherwise they're just stuck because they don't build them.
The most interesting point here is that you play games with the Allens seemingly regularly.
The Allens are my favorite civ.
Okay.
Also, I think the interesting point, Nubia are the opposite of the Vikings, but the Vikings almost build exclusively melee units. Especially the Berserkers. But anyway, moving on to the Evenks with the cutest civ ball.
Ooh. This is factual.
Who's
Evenks.
this? Sorry, I'm away from the computer. Evenks. Is this the one where I have a schizophrenic breakdown in the comments?
Yep.
To explain, to justify, I think the comments say something like, the Evenks are horribly overrated, and then I have a follow-up comment that's like, I think everyone's underrating the Evenks. Those comments were made a year apart. It wasn't quite as completely double two-faced as it seems.
For me, what the Evenks kind of are, it's kind of like if the Kamug were just less competent, still competent, but like just less, and they got the bad luck of basically being in the worst location where they're blocked off by the Kamug to any other good civ that they can conquer, because conquering the Kamug is no like easy deal.
Yeah, the Kamug are decent.
So
To me, they have a really obvious analog in Mark II with Yakutia. To me, that they are essentially frame perfect Yakutia. They'll have a lot of space to expand, and they probably will expand into it. The difference is the Kamugs aren't Mongolia. The Kamugs are better than Mongolia. So whereas Mongolia basically just said, "Oh, just leave them be, let them expand," I don't think that our good friends, the Kamugs, are going to be as merciful. Not all the Qing, probably. And the events do tend to like expanding further southeast, which ironically is where the events actually migrated to. But anyway.
There's a actually interesting point about you say migrated southeast. That means a lot of other civs who like send off wandering settlers will settle to the north of the Evenks, such as Nepal and Oman, which has happened in tests. But also Evenks, I remember in my Winter Wars game, I think they did pretty well because they were against really weak neighbors. So they are competent. They were against like the Tlingit and the Kaweskar.
Those are crazy strong civs.
They were. I think it was.
Best they are.
They were terrible in that game. They were awful in that game.
Why was Kaweskar in your Arctic circle?
It was winter, so it was northern and southern.
Oh right, gotcha. That's the Kaweskar are crazy good.
Might not have been Kaweskar then. It was the one with the cargo ship you.
That is
Kaweskar.
Yeah, they were awful that game.
That's rare. Huh.
They built like one. They only founded like 2 cities.
I don't really have much else to say. Jamie, you go.
I was just gonna say I agree. Oh, sorry, Scissors. I was just gonna say I agree with Lax. I personally think the Evenks are overrated. Glai and myself had both ranked them the lowest at 48th. Definitely a civ that could grow large, but their militaristic capabilities are quite low. They don't have really strong UUs. And just to put into perspective, to me, the Yakuts were still able to turtle. They could still build a carpet. They just never used it.
And they had the Great Wall, obviously.
They also had the Great Wall. That kind of went obsolete when they researched dynamite, but still. And at the same time, the Evenks don't build as thick a carpet. It's a very sparse carpet. And so that just leads to a lot of people coming in and tanking them down. It's very easy to hype up Siberian civs just because of how much room they have. But for every Sibber out there, there's also a Chukchi, if anybody knows what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aaron points out they have a very good UI, which gives 2 food and 1 faith on forests, tundra, and snow. We'll also give 1 production when built on featureless snow and tundra,
crazy.
which is a very handy UI.
It's basically a better version of the Inuxo.
If you have a great UI, but you choose to use all that extra production food for like culture, it's not particularly handy, and they're just
I was going to say they have a great UI, but the Sami UI is equally good, if not.
Yeah, but the Sami are miles away.
Yeah, in my opinion,
just comparing polar civs lacks.
I actually ranked the Evenks higher than this, but I completely regret that decision. I should have put them in the 40s. They're like Yakutia, but worse. They just sort of sit on the sideline. They sort of pushed against the fringe of the snow by the Kamugs and don't do anything. They don't get conquered really, but they really don't do anything in my opinion. I think they should be lower.
Well,
okay.
Let's go on to 35. I think we've pretty.
Right. So who wants to take over the meme?
Who is it? I can't see.
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Oh,
New Zealand too high as well.
Let me point out that we've had that Civ Ball. We've had that Civ Ball for New Zealand since Mark III's announcement of New Zealand being in the game. That's how fucking amazing that Civ Ball was to us. We've kept it for years. Sorry.
So I don't know who said New Zealand is bad, but the only reason they're not in the top 10 is because they started in an island.
Oh yeah, they're for real a great AI, but
their Groundhog Day performance was legendary. They had a not great start, and they still did amazing.
It also doesn't help that I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it also doesn't help that they're blocked in by 3 civilizations: the Murray, Australia, and Tonga. Literally the closest South Pacific nation. And Papua, but Papua to a lesser extent.
Papua go for Indonesia less. I mean, more so.
The thing about Tonga, for example, is that although Tonga obviously ranked lower, they do still have a lot of their own kind of space to expand into, and because they get a lot of really nice naval uniques, they can potentially conquer through the navy. A lot of the islands around them. Whereas New Zealand, they're more of a land-based civ. That's kind of where their uniques lie. And I think it's going to be really tricky for them to make landfall.
They're not made for a TSL game.
When Australia and the Murray are literally going to be right on... As soon as they reach Australia and the Murray are going to have conquered all that nearby territory. It's basically a consequence of having 2 Eastern Seaboard games. Well, civs. Eastern Seaboard's America, right? Eastern Coast civs in America. Eastern Coast civs in Australia. There we go.
Yeah, Australia, America, same thing.
I think that's a good move for Australia because I think Australia was objectively the worst continent in CBR Mark II.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say, vote Anangu for season 2 because that way we'll have a balance.
Yeah.
But anyway. The point is, it's like I think it's good for Australia because we'll get some nice early wars there between the Murray and Australia, which will be entertaining. It comes at the expense of New Zealand, who are going to have such a hard time.
Despite all of this, there was a test where New Zealand built an admirable Pacific empire. It didn't include Australia, but it included Indonesia and the Philippines and.
Was that the one where they got Hawaii as well?
Yes. So there was one round where they overcame all of this and did what you would expect from New Zealand, based on their other AI games.
They can't do it, and that's why they're not bottom tier. But it's an uphill battle.
If somehow they accidentally relocate to Indonesia, I could see them doing well.
Mm-hmm. A relocation of them would probably be their breakout onto the main stage, provided they don't run into like someone really stupidly strong when they relocate. That would be pretty great.
Like if they go to Southeast Asia, they'll be fine. If they go to South America, they're dead.
I don't think they'll go to South America.
Yeah, it's unlikely, but
yeah,
That's like
Selknam have the coast too well.
on the other hand, do you guys remember that world test where Selknam settled Australia?
Oh, yeah, I love that one. That was fun. That was good fun.
Anyway, civ number 34 is Martha.
Maratha.
Sorry, that's a CHG meme where we just called them Martha for the entire run.
Maratha are also probably ranked too high in my opinion, personally. Although they're a really hard one to rank.
Yeah, they can be.
They've got a fine start. Their AI is fine. They're just fine. They're a fine.
They have a perfect 10 for deviation.
Nice.
They shouldn't have been in the game, obviously.
Sikhs.
Should have been
Sikhs.
Well, Southern should have been Chola.
It should have been anyone.
So the only way that Maratha can actually become a power in the region is that if 3 civs, Nepal, India, and Oman, decides all collectively shit the bed and just not settle or not be competent, that's the only way Maratha can actually.
Yeah, honestly, can we swap Oman and Maratha?
Can we swap
I'm not sure about
in
that.
New Zealand?
I'm not sure about that. It's the thing is, I don't think that's as impossible as you're making out, Scissor, because I think Nepal could very easily get distracted by by Chin, and India could very easily get distracted by Kazakhs. Maybe a strong Parthia.
The issue is Nepal. Nepal can kill India and Maratha.
They can, but Chin are quite a powerful name. I don't know. I think Maratha can do it. But
their AI, I will say, their AI has had flashes of terrifying competence.
Oh yeah, they're very patchy.
I did a sort of like Middle East and Afghanistan game a long time ago, before the actual Middle East game. It didn't ever come to a conclusion, but Maratha dominated that game in I think it was a test.
I think you posted that one. I think I remember seeing that.
I remember, yeah, but they had a huge carpet. They were just completely unstoppable.
The thing is, for Maratha, like they don't have a good chance of winning the game, but the reason they're ranked this high is it's just so hard to kill them, because South India is just ridiculously defendable, especially in the early game.
Agreed. Yeah,
I think people look at India and the Indian civs, and people remember Mark II and Sri Lanka, and even the Mughals lasting way longer than they should have done. It's a weird.
Also, Afghanistan shat the bed so hard in Mark II.
Afghanistan and Mark I were perfect, and Mark II was such a disappointment. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Let's go to 33.
Murray. Okay, right. I'm not gonna talk about the Murray because I'm Team Australia. Can someone who likes the Murray talk about?
Yeah, I like the Murray. I'll go. Murray, they're one of my favorite Australian civs. I think they are one of the strongest ones as well, one of the best AIs. However, in test games, I would say Australia beat them about 65-35. They are pretty even, and Murray can definitely beat Australia, as I say, some of the time. But for some reason, it just looks like, what's he called? Mr. Bob? The guy who just died.
Hawk.
For some reason, it seems Hawk just has the slight bit of edge over them, which is a shame because I'm not that interested in seeing Australia.
Aaron, actually, the Aaron did some analysis on this. I think it was either Aaron or it was a BC guy analyzed the settling patterns.
Sounds like
and
Aaron.
Basically, yeah, Australia. One of the tiles that the AI wants them to settle cuts entirely, like totally fucks the Murray up, which is why they win it. If they settle that city, they kill the Murray. It's like if they settle
one city.
If it's slightly to the northeast, I think it's either the northeast or the northwest.
Yeah.
If they settle at the Murray, just like they wander for a while to get to the next city, and Australia just take up and kill them.
It's very Groundhog Day. It's very Admiral Clarberg Groundhog Day, because it's very like, oh, they've settled that city, so now this might happen. This will probably happen. Like the kind of the Goldberg Rube Goldberg machine. Is that what they call Rube?
Yes.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those contraptions. It's a little bit like that. I will say Australia civs, both Murray and Australia, are very, very hard to rank.
Apparently, Aaron did not do that.
We know that. Oh, okay. I don't know who it was.
But yeah,
we know that
someone
one
did
of
it.
them. we know one of Marie or Australia will kill the other. It's kind of inevitable.
Unless we get that one Papua timeline.
Yeah, there's a few timelines where Papua or Tonga or New Zealand could do it instead, but it's almost inevitable Marie or Australia will kill the other, probably fairly early on, and then go on to be very good. So where do you rank them? Do you rank them super low because you think Marie are more likely to die early?
Yes.
Do you rank them both high, like in the Mark II Part 0 rankings, where both Australia and the Kimberley are in the top 10? It's really hard, and I think that's kind of why Marie have come out sort of mid-table here. I think maybe, personally, I would probably have ranked them, I did rank them a bit higher than this. I put them in the 20s.
I had them lower because I have more faith in Australia. But I think the main thing with the Murray, though, is that they're lower because if they win, they will be worse than if Australia win.
It's an interesting point. They haven't done very well in most AI games. There still was one test where they dominated Australia, completely shut out, Papua and all the other island civs too, and that was promising. But Australia did that more than they did.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen Australia win more. I've seen Murray win harder. So my ranking, if I would put it, definitely top 20 for both of them. Unfortunately, I'll still edge it to Australia because it doesn't matter how hard you win. It matters that you win and control one of the most rock-solid fortress continents.
I think most of us are agreed Australia deserves to be above the Murray.
Yeah.
I think it's just a case of, I think we all also agree that the Murray aren't bad. They're just unlucky.
Yeah.
If it was Noongar and Murray would probably be top 15.
Or if Australia got their other start location.
Actually, to be fair, if it was if Australia were in Perth, it'd be a lot more even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, although I'm so glad they're not because, as I say, Australia and Kimberley Mark II was so boring.
Yeah.
Or more boring than other continents.
How many of you guys have seen...
I retract my previous statement because South America was overall more boring.
Yeah,
How many of you guys have seen, just on the topic of Australian Aboriginal civs, how many of you have seen that screenshot of the Yolgnu? I think it's the Yolgnu test with the Dreamlines.
No, I haven't.
That was weird.
They have these... Yeah, it's so... Basically, they emanate lines going out from the city in every direction, and units in those get buffs. But once you get a couple of cities, if you have the overlay on, it's just green lines all across the map. It's crazy.
Fuck, that's cool. Guys,
moving on.
Mark 3 podcast now.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Faroe Islands? How do you think they're going to fare?
Oof.
Anyway.
They should have been in this game.
They might have probably done better than Man.
100% better than Man.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on before we get too salty.
Beta Israel.
Oh, weird one. A weird civ. A very weird civ.
Basically, how you rank them is directly proportional to how good you think their neighbors are. If you think Benin are really good, you rank them low. If you think Benin are okay, you rank them higher. This is why they have high deviation. Kind
of the same as Madagascar as well. If you think Madagascar is going to get a good handle of East Africa, then that brings Beta Israel all the way down. But obviously, a lot of people don't think they'll ever leave the island.
I put Beta Israel at 11.
That is entirely fair. There were some tests where they won Africa.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Sure. I actually have a lot of faith in their AI, provided they actually can get out onto the stage. I can earnestly see them being the Ethiopia of CBRX Season 1.
And who's the Boas in that situation?
Well, that's for later, looks the camera.
Yes,
wink.
Yes.
Hashtag remove Zimbabwe.
All right. But yeah, they're neighbors. Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
Their uniques are super strong.
And dope. Don't forget that.
Yeah,
Cool factor is important.
I think every single one of the DMS Ethiopias, except for the Ethiopia one, would all have been really good.
I think Beta Israel. I've been campaigning them quite hard and thinking they were pretty decent. I actually have this gut feeling that they're actually going to go up pretty quick. I just don't have a great deal of faith in them expanding outside of their incredibly mountainous area the way Ethiopia did. I've not really seen them build many cities outside of that in tests. So if they can, as I say, muster a good military early and get a snowball going, then sure they could take Africa. But I think more likely they're going to get absorbed early on by Ndongo, probably.
Oh yeah, Ndongo are better than I think. Ndongo are better than we give them credit for.
Well, they are higher than Beta Israel in the ranking. Yeah. So.
Okay, so moving on to number 31, we're officially halfway. We have got Parthia, who I think we can sum up in one sentence, which is they're better than the Seljuks, they're worse than the Cat.
Yep.
Agreed. They're better than the Seljuks. The best color. I could see them doing damage to all their neighbors, just like I thought with all of the Middle East and related areas. Most of those civs live and die by their military, their tactics, and their micromanagement. It is impossible, in my opinion, to gauge the success. There is a possibility where almost every civ could burst out onto the scene and have a huge control of the Middle East. In my opinion, I could see Parthia doing it one of the most, if not the most.
I agree, because Parthia has... Well, Parthia has done great in several AI games. And they were one of the top 3 in AI Middle East. They were also in the top 3 in Graveyard of Empires, which sadly didn't finish with the winner. But so they could have won.
3 hours.
I think I disagree with everything you just said. And I'm going to start with the fact that I think Parthia's colors are horrible. I hate them. They're the worst purple. They're so
JPEG artifacts. JPEGs hate him.
I don't like them at all.
Purple, excuse me. You're gonna go up and front me with purple. Purple's the best color.
I think the peak have the best colors in the game.
Lunar. There's a better example of purple and blue right next door.
Yeah.
I know a good color, like a blurple. Oh, there was this color of this one.
Sorry, did you just unironically use the word blurple?
Yes, because it specifically annoys somebody.
Okay, the thing about Parthia is it's a really good civ when it comes to staying in its semi-steppe region between Afghanistan and all the Tajikistan area, but outside of that, when they try to go against India, that goes against the mountains. They can't break into that. The Seljuks are pretty much their only way to expand, and half the time the Seljuks are just there and they're just like a meat shield because they get ripped apart in the Zagros Mountains, and they can't go north because that's the Kazakhs, and the Kazakhs would eat them for dinner.
Caesar, did you just compliment the Kazakhs?
Yes.
Holy.
Exercise the demons.
I do want to say something here about Parthia. I think I said it in my write-up, but basically Parthia live and die off of the Seljuks. It all depends on when and how big the Seljuks are when they attack them, if they attack them, and if they're not already attacked by the Kazakhs. So Parthia need to expand into Persia, and I actually do have to disagree with you there, Scissors, because we actually did see in a test where Parthia got into northern India and conquered at least half of Indira's land, kind of becoming
just like the Kushan Empire.
Yeah,
I think there's another thing I want to bring up, which is what is if you're a historian, guys. So you know how Tamiris is Scythia in Civ 6, right? And that region. Why is Scythia Masagatai in Civ?
Pass. I don't know. Oh no, I do know. Tamiris is the queen of the Scythians in Persian writings. So to Persia, the Scythians were the people who lived in northern Kazakhstan, but the Scythians then kind of migrated after the era of Persia. They migrated along with the rest of the kind of the steppes people into Europe to the kind of Ukraine area. So they're just one of those people who are nomadic. It's like the Vandals. You could make a Vandal civ that starts in Poland in like Gothiscanza, or you could make a Vandal civ that starts in like Hipporagus in Algeria, and it's still with the same Vandals. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Tamiris is Scythia. In Civ 6, Tamiris just kind of represents the Scythian people in general. And as a side note, the Scythian city list fucking sucks in Civ 6. But anyway.
It is garbage.
Tamiris represents specifically the Scythians that the Persians wrote about and encountered. I think it's the Achaemenids, but I can't quite remember.
Yeah, she killed Syria.
Yes, she represents them in the Massagetto mod. That's why.
All right, thanks for that.
That's your Scythian history lesson. Can we please move on to number 30?
Canada. Right, Luna, what do you want to say about yours?
Okay, this civ has come from a lot of history. Let me just put it in perspective. When I first made this mod, I gleaned through history textbooks because our teacher would more yell at the students than actually teach. So here's me flipping through the textbook, and I see this dapper man, and I'm looking at like World War I stuff, and it just covered over super, super briefly because this is mostly about law, so they didn't care. So I kind of just fell in love with just how eccentric he was and how important he played a role on just Canada overall. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make a mod in a game 15 years later. No, it wasn't 15. It was 5 years. But still, I was actually hella interested in him and kind of disappointed to see that he wasn't there. So cue an idea, cue a suggestion into CBRX, and before I knew it, I had a nomination without a civ in hand. Here's me with learning Lua and getting this all prepared, and oh boy. But now that we're here, Canada's in a very strange situation. Being nestled straight up to Iroquois, it hurts. I just a perspective, I love both Canada and Iroquois for different reasons. And I have to agree in this situation, the natives have this one. Canada does not have great land, does not have good expansion opportunities with industrial era uniques and a really strong power spike around the industrial era. They have to survive to take advantage of it. It hurts. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, because their neighbors are the Metis, who are strong, who are Iraq, and the Iroquois, who are just dicks.
So, guys, somebody in this little group ranked Canada 8th. Somebody in this little group ranked Canada 51st. Do either of you want to own up, and do either of you want to talk about?
Hang on, I'm checking what I ranked.
I see. I'm the one who put them 8th. I'm trying to remember what my thought process was. I think at the time I'd seen Canada in some test games, and they were very expansive, actually more than the Iroquois. And
early on, yeah, I noticed that.
And I think that's what that convinced me that they had a chance at being one of the two civs in the best position to win North America. I don't know if I'd rank them that highly now that I've seen them in Groundhog Day, which they're decent, but they're like a 20s to 30th place civ, which is where they are in this ranking, rather than a top 10 based on that performance.
I definitely agree.
I'm the one who ranked it at 51, and to me, Canada is a great civ, but it's like I just think that the Iroquois are just that much better,
especially with the buffs that were given to them. But we'll explain that later.
And also, I think the Metis will just like when they go east, I think they'll just devour Canada. Because the Metis have just so much room to grow, and then when they come over to Canada, they'll just eat it up for breakfast.
Well, we're going to talk about the Metis later, but I'm not sure whether I immediately agree with that sentence.
I don't know.
Canada.
I gotta give Scissors credit here. I know it's kind of a meme to be all like, "Oh, LOL." He ranked what some civ in 59th that everybody else, or no, you ranked like Ottomans in 60th or something. Or maybe that was Lordy. Can't remember. Point is,
that was Lordy.
Yeah, I actually find myself agreeing with Scissors here. I mean, I wouldn't rank them that low, but at the same time, if we're being realistic, there's a very good chance that Canada could finish in the bottom 10. By the way, before we continue talking, just as a quick side note, a pronunciation thing. Admiral Cloudberg hit the nail on the head because he's from the Great Lakes, if I'm not mistaken. Most people
He's from the Bay. He's from San Francisco.
Oh,
yeah, no, I've
Métis.
never even been to any states that border the Great.
The Métis,
Well, then,
the Métis are French.
you just know how to read it. But yes, the civ is not pronounced Iroquois,
I get that wrong.
or no, not Iroquois. It's Iroquois, like koi fish. Iroquois.
You tell me it's not Iroquois?
Well, that's
There's no S on the end.
It.
It's Iroquois.
I can clearly see the S on the end. You're not going to get that.
It's a French.
It's secretly French.
Yeah, the French wrote down the name of the tribes.
Yep, after they fled in 1800s to Canada.
So
Sounds fake, but okay.
So Luna, just on a side note,
Yep.
has Canada been released yet?
Canada is awaiting mod support, but frankly, with all my life stuff, I'm very intimidated by mod support just because I want it to be perfect in that regard. Diplomacy text at this point is done, but it's just lacking. It's just lacking mod support. At this point, I almost want to just hand it off and say, you know what, this mod is yours. I just wanted to see one made. At this point, I don't care who releases it. I just wanted one made, mod support is lacking. The one time I tried to add mod support, I somehow managed to delete every civ, but Aztecs, which was funny.
Maybe that's a poor sense of things to come.
Oh,
Speaking of things to come, 29.
Nazca.
So I just want to say about the Nazca.
I really like the Nazca.
Who the actual fuck put the Nazca in CBRX?
I love the Nazca.
The Nazca are great.
They're a cool civ. They are a cool civ. They have awesome uniques, but they are like they're not the worst civ in the region, but they're not the best. Like
who would you have put in Peru?
Peru.
Yeah, also would have put in Peru.
I'll be frank.
Hi, Frank.
I just like having native civs in the Americas.
Yeah, but I will admit that the Peru region has some of the actual worst civs in the game in the form of the Corral and the Tiwanaku.
Well, okay. Let's talk about the Nazca because I got a bone to pick with you. I like the Nazca, and also in some test runs we've seen, the Nazca have been very natty. We've seen them settle all the way, and I'm not just talking like, grow by conquering. I mean, settling early all the way to the other coast of Brazil. So they can be quite expansive quite early on. They also are famously defensive, albeit not as much as the Quikero. And on top of that, have a great start for that kind of defensive boost in the mountains. We also gave them more flat desert near the Atacama region, so they can use their really, really cool UI, which gives them different bonuses depending on what policy trees they've unlocked.
Yeah, the geoglyph is also just really cool.
Yeah, it's the Nazca lines. You can see them on the screen right now.
They also have a history of shenanigans in past AI games. The most famous example would probably be Groundhog Day Mark 1, where there was a round where they lost their capital early, but then didn't give up. They kept expanding and conquering others, and then eventually declared war on the civ that took their capital, and then got their capital back in a peace treaty.
Incredible.
What?
What?
Oh my god!
I still think
I need to watch
the game I remember though is I think it was Mark 6 when UK George V I voted in, and then Peru just destroyed them like 7 out of the 10 games. And I think Peru would just be a better choice.
I don't know. I think South America has enough OP civs already, so I'm not.
Peru's not OP. They're just good.
And I think Nazca are good as well. I think Nazca will be surprisingly steadfast. I think they'll hold on for longer than they have any right to with their neighbors. We're going to obviously get to the neighbors soon. But I think they're one of the things that's going to make South America a more interesting continent this time around. I think Mark II suffered from having a particularly weak Chile that aren't usually that weak, very, very poor Argentina, a very, very poor inker, and just a lot of civs that didn't really try that hard. Nazca, for what it's worth, always seem to put the effort in. Whether they do that in a more defensive way or in a more expansive way kind of tends to depend on the seed, on the game. But that kind of randomness, that's what makes them so interesting.
You mind if I throw something in here? Bold prediction. I actually have 50-50 odds on Nazca taking out Venezuela for one reason. Bold. But honestly, Nazca's settling pattern is always towards Venezuela. In a round, I was the outlier because almost every other run I did, or run other people did, they seem to meander around their capital and not settle much. But I've had 3 games, especially around the area where we were testing Grand Colombia in and out. I had 3 ones where they just settled right next to the Venezuelan capital and was like, what's up? And be the assisting factor to help Haiti get the out of nowhere RKO. And I'm sorry, I could see it. I could see a beige South America. Okay, that's confusing.
No, you could see beige South America.
I could see a beige Venezuela. I could see it. Is it likely? As I said, 50-50.
Lordy, can I just confirm your views on Nazca one more time?
I don't think the Nazca are that bad. I just think Peru are better.
Okay, of all the people who ranked Nazca, the highest ranking of them was 21, with the exception of one ranker who ranked them 7th, which is Lordy Staven.
I think I put that. Can I confirm that I do not have Uruguay in the top 10?
Oh, let's have a look. You have Uruguay 18th. Yeah, you're one of the lowest on Uruguay.
Yes, that's because I didn't realize how OP Uruguay were when I ranked that. I thought Uruguay was shit, and I thought that Nazca would kill Venezuela.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do think Nazca will kill Venezuela, huh?
I didn't realize.
Tables have turned.
I didn't realize how much Uruguay were not going to get held up by Selknam, and that Uruguay were just going to rush everybody around.
Fair.
Against the more overpowered Selknam, it would have been a far more interesting match.
Your ranking is probably pushing Uruguay up by Nazca up by 4 places.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I remember that I did do my ranking I think I did do my ranking over 6 months before some of the people on there though.
Yeah, you were an early one and locked in.
Okay, so we should be moving on now to Poverty Point.
Alright, I'm just gonna preface this. I know nothing about Poverty Point. I have not played with them. I know they were released really late because they were a tar civ or something.
They're Tomatech.
But yeah, they were released. Yeah. They were released out a long time after the rest of the civ.
Oh yeah, them and the Mississippi. I have played as Poverty Point, and they're a lot of fun.
They're so fun.
So,
Their unique is great.
Yeah.
The Poverty Point are far and away my number 1 civ in North America. Not number 1 in terms of that I think they'll win, but I love them. They're one of my favorite mods by and on. I mean, Tomatech, kind of unabashedly, is my favorite modder. So when it comes to civilizations, at least. I mean, Tomatech also did the Shah. And brilliant ones.
Yeah, he is just amazing.
Yeah,
fucking amazing. So, Poverty Point, they're in a really interesting position. And test games have been very exciting with Poverty Point. I think they're going to be one to watch in the early game. They start on a lot of flat land, which means they're very, very vulnerable early on, especially considering they have the Apache next door, who are going to build an army and it's going to have horses. So you'd think the Apache should be able to run riot through Poverty Point. About 50% of the time, that's what happens. And Poverty Point are a blip in human history. And then about the other 50% of the time, somehow, Poverty Point completely overturns that and storms through the Apache lands, or storms through the Iroquois lands instead. I think maybe that depends on their unique. So their unique, if you don't know, is very, very dynamic. Essentially, they have this unique improvement that they can only build once an era, which is a mound. And every time they build it, they gain a new bonus. Some of those bonuses are useless in this game, such as making peace with all barbarians. There are no barbarians. Some of them are incredible, like putting all enemy cities into resistance. Into resistance immediately. So
basically, they Putin
a civ of like huge gambles, huge risk. It's a bet big, win big civ, really.
Also, they are our resident both hippies with spirit animals and furry animals.
Yeah, they're there for the furries. I really, really, really love Poppy Point. I have they're the team I'm supporting in North America for sure. Whether they'll come up top, it's a really competitive region, and I think there's a reason we see the North American civs. All of them are actually ranked quite high, apart from the Yupik and the Haida. Because seriously, it could go anywhere in North America. There's lots of equally competitive civs, and whoever wins it is going to be competitive on the world stage too. I think Poverty Point, there's a reason they're lower down, and that is just because their start is so open. They don't have the hills of the Apache. They don't have the forests of the Iroquois, and they don't have the distance from the other civs that the Metis have. They're kind of the weakest in that sense. But as I say, there have been test games where they've been unabashedly the winner of the continent. So I really, really excited to see what they do.
Yeah, moving on to the Taungu. I slept on Taungu for a long time. But I've actually come to think recently that they're actually pretty good. The only thing I can actually really say against them is that the Emerald's newest Burma under Aung San is so much better, but that's just it's an amazing civ.
Yeah, so's Kongbang.
Kongbang is one of the most batshit crazy civs.
Kongbang, I actually campaigned really hard for Taungu, and I should have campaigned for Kongbang. In retrospect, I prefer them. Kongbang's gimmick, if you don't know, is that they can change their capital city at will, and do so frequently. It's hilarious.
Just like Phoenicia in Civs.
They do it, but they do it to one population cities all the time. It's so fun.
I know. I saw them they were in Groundhog Day Mark 9, and they changed their capital all the time, and the choices they made, it usually made no sense whatsoever.
It's just fun. They're just a fun civ to watch. But anyway, we don't have them. We have Taungu. Taungu.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're okay.
They have elephants.
What they are is they're lonely. They're very secluded, so they have a lot of room to build up a strong core and a big core in relative peace for the early game.
Yeah, compared to Burma, Champa, and Vietnam, where there were 3 civs within 7 or 8 tiles of each other.
Yeah, we did. Southeast Asia is a bit smaller than it was, I think, on that map.
Mm-hmm.
I will say.
I mean, the fate of Taungu only lies on what Canton does. If Canton decides to start conquering Taungu, Taungu's pretty much dead. But if Canton is for some reason rolls a bad die, or if Chin forward sells Canton and Canton's unable to expand towards Taungu, then Taungu's pretty much set for the entire game.
Yeah, Taungu, an earlier version of Taungu, which had much worse colors, by the way, was in Groundhog Day Mark 6, I want to say, and they won a round. They're not to be trifled with, so that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I feel like they're just fairly unassuming. The biggest shame is that Champa got into Mark 2, because I'd love to see Champa with the start of the Taungu you have in this game.
Agreed. Taungu, for me, if you want to place money on a civ surviving, you put it on Taungu. Or I guess
any of the top 10 civs.
Or maybe Kazakhs.
Or any of the top 10, yeah. If you want to make good money, that's how you do it. If we had a stock system, boom.
Yeah, if the stock exchange was still open from Mark 2, Taungu would be a very good.
It's number 20th on the amount of things I want to do for this project. I really want to revive that because, ooh boy. Anyways, Taungu is a safe investment. Let's put it like that. Yeah. I expect them to live a long time. I expect them to not be challenged by any Australian power. I expect them to have some impact, but ultimately, I expect their list of notable accomplishments to be bare bone. I could see them. at one point just suddenly going full Brazil, but that's unlikely. I see them as an existent power, but only an existent power.
Endless Void says Kurikuro. Kurikuro will survive everything. They're a military bunker. Yeah, Kurikuro are an excellent bet in the BRSE.
If you want to hide your money from the stock
Switzerland,
exchange, and you don't want it to be taxed, you go to Kurikuro. Confirmed.
Yeah, Kurikuro is kind of cheating. I would actually take Kurikuro off the betting market.
Yeah, so let's move on to the most unsafe person in the BR with Scissors Indira.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a transition, and not one I disagree with. I see Indira. Am I pronouncing it right? No. Indira. Well, I whatever. I see India's position as one entirely determined, again, not you heard this before, determined by their neighbors. The settlements early on are important, but not the most defining factor. It really depends on the aggression of their neighbors. I can definitely see India being a very, very relevant. Dyslexia sucks, man.
The revelator that is in
the revelator. I could
the revelation is
see
she has nukes.
I could see India being a bomb setter, but nothing more. I don't see much. I don't see anything notable. Very, very Tongaist. I don't see anything notable coming out of this. But at the same time, you can't sleep on Asia at all. Asia is just full of chaos, just waiting to be uncorked.
And I will just say, India's colors are beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, Scissor, we gotta go to you, Scissor. Really, what do you think of the first of your two civs to come up? What do you?
So I think Indira is in a really strange position. So if it beats off Nepal as it has done in some tests, then Indira is pretty much set, as the Indian subcontinent is a very defensible location. If Indira, for some luck, if Nepal may focus more on Chin or just has a bad dice roll in the game, and if Indira can just basically not make Nepal an issue, then I think that she can easily handle Maratha if Nepal is not there hounding her. And if she is able to take down or at least significantly increase her power in the region as to where those two are not a threat to her, then she's pretty much set for till the end game. Because invading India is really hard to do if you're not using, let's say, modern units, atomic era units, or future tech units. So if she gets to that area, if she gets to the time in which her uniques kick in, and she can use her nukes, and her uranium uniques, then she is a very good. She receives a huge power spike. But other than that, she just has to get through that gauntlet and get there. And that's
at least Finland are in this game, as Endless Void says.
But yeah, that's my opinion on India.
I think that's very comprehensive.
Yep. In the end, the things that affect India will be indirectly. I don't even know. That's not better my goddamn head. Moving on.
No, I just want to say, there's India are the second highest civ in the region. That's basically what it is. Because Nepal are just ridiculous at this point. I have no idea how Nepal is.
Nepal is.
I have India higher than Nepal, and I stand by that. I think India has stronger uniques, more healthier room to expand in than Nepal. I mean, a lot of Nepal's is, while very defensible, I don't think you can really do that much with just pure mountains. Whereas, I mean, I think India, they're in a nicer, safer spot with nicer land and borders in the Seljuks, who are a total pushover, and Parthia, who I don't think are that great. So, I don't know. I have high hopes for India.
So moving on to the Golden Horde, the write-up is actually basically saying that they're not very interesting, and I think that's kind of true in that they are consistent, but...
Yeah. My favorite test round with the Golden Horde was they decided that they were only going to settle north and south and not east and west, and had a an empire that's like 1.5 to maybe 2 cities wide, but stretched from like below the Caucasus all the way to the Arctic Ocean. And that was just hilarious. I hope they do that again.
Also, it's nice that we get to talk about the second civ in the rankings that was built by a member of the Blue Cassette, right?
Whoa!
Yay! Oh my
Also,
God,
like,
my voice went on space.
They haven't been released yet. The new Horde.
I'm not sure if they'll be allowed. I mean, this is a really weird situation where essentially what Limerick did was take the mod that got voted for and make it so it works.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's going to be released or not, because that could be seen as kind of an infringement on somebody else's intellectual property, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean the problem is we can't exactly contact the person who made it, because that person, we don't know who they really are. They haven't been active on the Steam Workshop in years.
We know their name, but who are they really?
So
Slippin' Jimmy.
So for Golden Horde, I see them. They're actually one of the reasons why I'm rating Kazakh so low, is because I believe that Golden Horde is the thing that neuters the Kazakhs. Even though Kazakhs have the amount of room they have, I just think that like militaristically, the Kazakhs are not aggressive enough. And that's, I think, where they fall. And that's where Golden Horde, I think, can pick up the ball and take down the Kazakhs.
But can they do much more than that? I'm a little worried starting next to a civ as aggressive as the Goths, and also eventually going to be bordering a civ as kind of powerful as the Sami. Do we think the Golden Horde are going to be able to build that into a snowball, the kind of snowball that, like a Sibur-style snowball that you would need to, comprehensively win the...
I don't think they...
No.
I don't think the Golden Horde can win the game. I just think that they can ruin the Kazakhs' chances of doing so.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Scissor, to be honest. I don't think it's as likely as he thinks it is, though.
I would love to zoom in on what Aaron Lekon... I keep saying Lekon, it's definitely Lesson. What Aaron Lesson has just said about the Golden Horde building ranged unit spam everywhere, which meant that nobody could capture cities, not even themselves. And now I have the idea of the Golden Horde as a really weird, twisted Hawaiian peacekeeper.
They want everyone to be part of their hordes. They don't let anyone capture anyone.
It's like one diplomatic horde. It's the EU equivalent of the Mongol Empire.
They surround your cities, and the second anyone reaches for anything that it could be slightly dangerous, that person has their arm impaled by 5,000 arrows.
Yeah, just like the EU, right?
Yeah, can someone make a talk? So we've already had one civ war commissioned by chat. Can we have another one where Toktamish is Angela Merkel?
But yeah. Middling power could be rolled over, could roll over.
Yeah,
ultimately, in the trials of history, it will not be that great.
The exact same can be said about the next civ, the Songhai.
Wow, I did not think the Songhai would be this. How's Songhai?
Songhai.
Yeah.
I have faith in them.
Songhai are a weird one. On paper, they are so much worse than their immediate neighbors, Benin. Benin have the better uniques, they have the better AI, they have the better history AI.
Benin have a tendency to
yet, in the test games, the Songhai tend to beat them. They don't tend to do much else, though. What the Songhai appear to be lacking, which is kind of similar to Mali, their obviously closest analog in Mark II, is that they never really seem to get north of the Sahara. They never seem to be able to break through to the northern civs, even when those northern civs are comparatively not very strong. And I've not really seen Songhai take over Algeria or Libya in these games either. So I struggle to really see them as a top 30 civ myself. They seem like the definition of a lower mid-tier power to me.
See, I think they're the opposite. I think they go into higher mid-tier power purely because, unlike civs like the Golden Horde, when they do well, they can get huge. Like in one of the Songhai win tests when they beat Benin, they also took out Beta Israel and Algeria, as I remember correctly.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
I think there was one where they had at least half of Africa, if not more. So
they're actually in your top 5, if I remember right. Songhai, aren't they?
Yeah. I think they're going to beat Benin. I think they're going to do really well.
I'm not sure about Benin. I still think Benin could hold out. They have some really, really strong uniques.
That is true. I think they have the single best unique component of any civ with their unique improvement.
We'll get to that when we get to Benin.
Okay.
There's not much interesting or unique to say about these guys because if you know Civ 5, you know who they are and you know their uniques. Songhai.
And
we should probably just move on.
Almost every game of Civ 5, they're as irrelevant as I think they will be here.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I put them at 40, not 24, but that's me.
Yeah.
They're funny because you
I
meet
think
them
I had
and
them at 6.
You meet them and there's that lovely splash screen of the burning fucking madrasa, and you're like, oh, these guys are going to be serious, and then they never bother you.
Yeah, they also have the spelling of Timbuktu, which is quite cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess now we're moving on to the Moors, number 23.
Yeah, somehow not the best civ in Europe.
The best civ in Ireland, though, usually.
Correct.
And also the best civ in North Africa.
Yep.
And this
Sorry, Lordy, can I get you to justify the quote even more? Umayyad Alhambra. Ever since I saw this quote, I've been trying to parse it or figure out what it means.
So the subreddit, I think, for Mark III for the Moors was Umayyad Alhambro. And I was making it as a reference to that, it's happening again. It was in the
even more.
Bros.
Yeah.
You have to say it again.
Bros.
Umayyad Alhambro. But no, it was when I wrote down an alternative name for every civ at 4 a.m. And some of those stupid.
Yeah, I actually like that. I got a good chuckle from those. Those things really should be put onto the PR slides.
Oh God, no! Please, I like my dignity.
Too late.
I've already pinned them.
Oh wait, never mind. I lost my dignity when someone put the comment: "The Oman are going to rim the peninsula."
Oh God. The Moors are proving popular in the comments. We've got a lot of comments here. We have one from Endless Void saying, being in Spain / North Africa, they won't be involved in too many fights, can kick back and watch us here at Burns. I think the point I want to touch on here is that I never see, or I don't think I've ever seen the Moors actually settle North Africa. They tend to just stick in Europe.
Yeah, they kill Algeria sometimes.
But they tend to settling France, really.
They settle France, and then Man and Scotland both. Moors and Somerset.
Aaron also thinks they'll build they'll build an advantage with tech and be able to crush their neighbors through tech alone, like Mark II Korea.
Let's be real. Until halfway through Mark II, Portugal looked amazing. They killed Rome.
I disagree.
Well, Sparta killed Rome.
Well, they took Rome and they took the Mediterranean.
I wouldn't say. I'd say they killed Rome in the same way that the last guy to stab Julius Caesar, I guess, killed Julius Caesar.
They took Rome then.
Yeah, fair. I don't think they were amazing. I think they were always slightly bonkers.
Okay, so moving on to number 22.
I have a comment for Moors, super quick.
Wait, hang
on. I just want to give a summary on what I think of the Moors. I think they're like the Ottomans. They can impact so many different theaters, but at the same time not. I think of them as the scrap cleaner. They go around picking off the weak and slowly expanding, but I can't see them holding their empire if, say, a more stronger force were to arrive. I don't see them as fully carpeting their lands. I see them being England. That's the best way I can describe it. They are the England of this game.
To me, they're Ireland. They will probably take over the British Isles, but then the Vikings and all the Sami, whoever wins that fight, will just come in
I kind of agree with Luna. I think it's not a great start, Spain. I think it's a little bit of a turtle sport, and I don't think they're going to be able to break out it very easily. I actually just looked at the individual rankings, and I have them the lowest of anyone at number 38, which is maybe a little mean, but I don't know. I just don't see good shit for them, to be honest.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, let's move on to one of the craziest and most situationally overpowered civs in the game, which is only at number 22 in the
Chin.
Yeah.
In a Groundhog Day situation, these guys are broken.
I don't know who this is because we haven't moved forward on the slide on the thing yet. Oh, Chin, here we are.
They are not Lassel's Chin. They are Captain's Chin. They are the ones, if they capture a capital, they get the...
Yeah.
So they were in Groundhog Day and they did okay. They never really came close to winning any rounds. But I saw their UA trigger when they captured other civs capitals, but then I didn't see them ever build any uniques from those civs. Is that fixed in the Civ Battle Royale? That's my question.
I actually do not know that. I believe so.
In a game I did between your Groundhog Day and now, it did, like, they captured Norway and built the Norwegian swordman.
Okay, sounds good. I will say it's kind of funny that we have the Chin and the Xia both in the game, and they're both civs that if they start to capture quite a few capitals, they'll probably start to snowball, or at least if they use their uniques well. It's kind of ironic they both start right next to each other.
The Chin Nu is also brokenly good.
Yes. Do we want to go over what that does briefly?
Stronger against cities, has to set up before attacking. I think it has longer range as well.
It's basically like a composite bowman replacement that actually functions as a siege.
Yeah, it's a fast siege unit basically.
Huh. That sounds actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'd play that.
I
mean, the Rui underwhelming, but it's a horseman and horsemen are good, so the AI spams them.
In the meta, this civ are very divisive. I remember a lot of people absolutely hated the fact they got voted in, and then a lot of other people, most notably our beloved fellow ranker Doom, have Chin as like their number one favorite civ. They really, really love them. I will say I don't know what to make of them. They're a kind of a weird liminal civ who kind of rely on their neighbors, but I do think personally those unique units are well made, and I think they reflect the civ very well. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. In test games, they've been kind of odd. It's funny that we talk about them being situational because they really do seem like that. Sometimes it feels like they're throwing their army at like their neighbors and not getting anywhere.
And sometimes they build too many of the. They have a tendency to make an army entirely out of the crossbows.
Well, that's anyone with a unique ranged unit suffers from building too many ranged units without fail.
Well, the other thing is that because they want to build the horsemen, if they don't get horses, they only build the crossbows.
Yeah, I have horses. I can't remember where the nearest horses are to them, but there'll be some.
Also, the Qin to me are like the deciding powers for China. Like, you see, the Qing, they're pretty much consistently good, except for like very rare hiccups. But if you want, for the rest of China, if you want to see how Xia goes, or if you want to see how Canton goes, Qin is the one that decides like how they go. If Qin decides to go for Xia first, then Canton's okay. If Qin decides to go for Canton, then Xia can survive until Qing takes them out. So that's basically what it is.
I will say that the only reason the Qin are 22nd and not like 16th is because I have them at 52nd.
Ouch.
That's low.
I think it was a case of I just didn't think they would have any chance of winning because the other three China are just a lot stronger.
I think that they're not. I mean, they're clearly not the strongest China. I think we're all pretty agreed the Qing.
Yeah, the Qing are just
are stronger. But I actually kind of want to echo what Scissor says in the comments of the slide. Qin will do good if they expand west instead of east. And I actually think that bears out in the test runs. The more they get predisposed with Xia and with Qing and with Canton, it feels like the less well they do. If they go and settle the Himalayas early, kind of cut Nepal off from early expansion, cut the Kalmuks out of early expansion in Xinjiang, that's when I think you tend to see the Qin do really well.
Mm-hmm. Because in a fight against Xia, they don't win as fast they don't win at all.
In a straight fight, they're fairly even.
Yeah, but as I said, it's still a slow fight then.
Okay, should we get to 21?
Yeah, Palmyra.
Yeah. I don't know how these guys are so low.
This is a civ that I adore and yet still never know how to pronounce. I said Palmyra for ages just because it looks like palm tree, but I'm pretty sure it's like Palmyra.
Yeah, it's like Palmyra.
I say Palmyra. I don't know if it's right, but I
say Palmyra.
Who made this?
Let's just call them Tadmor.
Wait, I'll find out.
Firebug, right?
It was the Firebug, yeah. So, I love this civ.
Yep,
Firebug. It's one of my favorite mods, mainly because of the color, and mainly just because they rule, and the actual Kingdom of Palmyra was really cool. Yeah, I don't quite know what to make of their ranking, to be honest, because
they're a good AI with bad unique, so the opposite of like the lowest. They have a good AI.
And even though they're the best civ in the region, they're in the Middle East, which is like kind of like one of the worst regions to be in when you're building an empire.
Europe, by like Western Europe, it's a terrible region to start in.
So basically, like they have like okay land, like the land they're in is like probably the best in their region, but it's still like the region itself is not a good place. And anyone that wants to make an empire that stretches from Europe to Asia or the reverse has to go through Palmyra. And I think they're going to be coalitioned the hell out of by almost every civ that's around.
Now we have a few. That kind of brings me on to the positive side of Palmyra. The civs that do surround them are the Seljuks, who are notoriously not great. Oman, who we seem fairly unanimous on that we don't think they're going to be that strong in their core territories, at least. The Ottomans, who they could pose a threat, but
they're not strong until the late game.
Europe,
they're not strong until the mid.
And then Nubia, who are more defensive than offensive. So there doesn't seem to be that many people who can take down Palmyra that early. Which means that they have an opportunity to build a good, strong core. And hey, their AI is good. They could do that. They could. Definitely.
I think the other thing they benefit from is The other thing they benefit from is the fact that there's not a Southern Caucasus civ like Armenia.
Yes, I mean Aaron has just said the Golden Horde also bought a Palmyra, but I guess, but like they're quite far away. I guess
they're one mountain range away. They are one mountain away.
And Minoa, of course, would be remiss to mention Minoa. Palmyra is inland, so Minoa's huge naval. If Minoa do build a good navy, which they can do, the capital Palmyra will at least be safe.
Well, the thing is, I'm more worried about the powers that surround the ones that are surrounding Palmyra, because you got all those powers, and they seem like to be the ones that could threaten Palmyra when they get done with conquering.
I know what you mean. I could see this scenario happening, which we see all the time in AI games. Palmyra invade, let's say Nubia, do really well, expend a lot of army, and then Better Israel, Libya come in and go, ooh, free territory, and just sweep Palmyra.
It's free real estate.
Which, ironically, is pretty much how the Kingdom of Palmyra went out in real life as well, so...
Yeah,
so everyone says Palmyra has good AI, but can anyone point to any actual examples of this?
Because Groundhog Day.
No, they never really did much in Groundhog Day. They didn't even want to win a round.
Oh, I thought I remember them being pretty decent.
They were pretty average.
I'll trust you, the guy who made
it. The tests bring them up because like Oman aren't great, Seljuks aren't great, Nubia aren't great, so they look better by comparison.
Yeah, a lot of it. It's a bargain basement, unfortunately.
I gotta say, they didn't do well in AI Middle East at all, did they?
Mm.
No, they were out quite quickly in that. I think Palmyra doesn't have very good AI. I love the Civ, and I want them to do well, and the tests are promising. They're better than any of the Middle East Civs were in Mark II, I'll give them. But I do think I do think 21st is probably about right.
So we can move on now
I
to.
think it's fair.
Yeah, I think move on to
26.
Civ number 20, who I think have a contender for the best colors, which is Canton.
They're pretty decent colors. I mean, I'm a sucker for purple.
I think they definitely suit the Civ a hell of a lot.
This is the first game, I believe, with Canton since Scissor realized he'd fucked up the biases.
Yeah.
Yes. So Scissor gave half the biases 0, which is why Canton sucked, and then we fixed that.
So I haven't seen, except for a couple of tests, I haven't seen Canton in a game since the biases were fixed. So it's a bit of a wild card for me.
So it's a weird story when I was doing it, because like I was thinking like, okay, I was thinking to edit Canton's UA bonus that gives it like the so what it was originally was a 25% of population for a city on a coast that goes directly into golden age points. And I was thinking about like, hey, like coastal cities are big, but like a lot of the time, like people just don't settle that many coastal cities. So I was like, maybe in order to make it like a better option, just bump that up to 50%. And when I was looking through the AI, I was like, wait a sec, half these numbers are 0. Well, I should probably change that. And after that, in tests that Homu had run, especially in AI Japan and basically AI Japan, it was like Canton was like one of the better civs in that region, getting basically all of like Western Japan, and was basically about to invade Eastern Japan. It was about to win, and I think Canton shines when it is given like a period of rest, a period of catch up, and then after it reaches maybe the middle of the classical or beginning of the medieval era, then Canton hits stride and starts pumping out the naval units and basically sends settlers everywhere throughout the Asia Pacific region. Sometimes you get Cantonese settles in Australia all the way up to Siberia.
I do think Canton are a real wild card in this competition. I've seen tests with them where they get bodied by a China fairly early on, and then I've seen tests with them where they go right back up and reverse it. I think that is going to be almost more interesting than the naval prowess. Certainly not as a viewer, where their naval escapades are going to be by far the most interesting thing. They're going to be very kind to the cameras, put it that way. But I think for Canton's longevity, it's going to have to come down to how much of focus they put on a land army, and that seems to be a little bit 50-50 in these tests. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It says a lot that we have rankings, I think, from 8 as the highest ranking for them, down to a 40 for the lowest. For a high-tier civ, their deviation is very high, and it could go either way.
Yeah, I think with Canton, the other thing is that there aren't too many like civs that combinations that could have been necessarily worse for them. So there's 2 fairly good naval powers in Korea and Sulu. Not amazing, but they'll still like put out navies. And then there's land powers to the side of them. So if they got like, if Korea had been something like Silla or something, or Goguryeo, whichever one hasn't got like a naval bias, and Philippines had been not another non-naval civ, they'd probably been a huge powerhouse. But as it is, they won't have as much of a naval opportunity as they could have done.
Yeah, I think we've about it summed it up. Should we move on?
Yeah, we're moving on to Czechia. They are the top European civ that are not like isolated in the best starting position in Europe.
Yes, I think we've learned our lesson regarding Scandinavia and early power ranking this time.
Yeah, I think also we learned our lesson regarding putting 2 ridiculously strong civs right next.
Yeah. So, Czech Republic, what to say about these guys? They are by far have the best record of any of the civs in Europe in other AI games and indeed in test runs of this. They very often are the ones who are settling early and settling confidently, and they're very often the ones that are winning wars. However, Europe is so crammed and so random that it's one of those continents where really anything can happen. in my head, I can see Czech Republic going a very similar way to Poland. You got to remember, Poland did very well in Mark 1. They did very well in the Mark 2 test run, if you remember that. Well, not many of you will.
Yeah, they just fluffed their lines totally.
Yeah, they did really, really well in that one. And then, Mark 2 comes, and they just folded. No one really knows why. It just happens.
I will say Drazula has made an excellent civ in Czechia. And
yeah, they're great. They're real good.
I have. Do I have the highest ranking of the Czechs of anyone? Let me check. Ha.
Ha.
No, actually,
Actually,
Lax. Scissor and Lax both have them slightly higher than me. I have them in 13th, and I think that Czechia is the best shot we've seen of having a world power come out of continental Europe in Civ Battle Royale. I think if anyone's gonna do it, it'll be them. And they did in one of the long-term tests. They were basically top 3. They were sending out paratroopers and like doing Finland stuff and capturing cities in India.
Mm-hmm.
It could happen, but they could also be eliminated in 10 parts. That's kind of what's exciting about them. They're not a civ who you would want to confidently say, oh, they're going to be a power. The way that you can fairly confidently say the Sami and the Kazakhs are going to hold out till at least the mid game and probably do better.
If the Sami and Vikings weren't as good as they are, I would say Czechia would 100% be the Sweden of CBRX.
I'm being attacked by a cat, so I'm going to be back in like 5 minutes while I just get rid of it.
All right. So we're just going to move.
All right. I'm actually really impressed with Czechia this test. No, I'm really impressed with Czechia overall. One of the most astounding AI performances, and at the same time, some of the most they were there performances as like an actual civ. I want to play Vaclav so bad. He actually looks quite interesting. I kind of want to integrate him into a mod pack because he looks like a heck of a lot of fun to play. Nothing's more fun than science and production hand in hand.
Yeah, I think basically if he managed to like get through an early game, like kill one of his neighbors, he'll do well. So then moving on to number 18, Papua. Under Raja Papua, the king of Papua.
Guys, the cat's dead.
Oh shit!
I killed the cat. No, it's good. It's a good thing. I killed it. It's not.
I actually thought you were serious for like a micro moment. That was uchi out.
Guys, the cat's not actually dead.
There is one thing I want to mention about Czech before we fly off. It was mostly covered by Lax. I just wanted to say it. I think Czechoslovakia. That means Czech. Sorry, the image confused my brain. Czech. You're probably. Czech. I think they could easily fold so early, and they could win the game. Not many civs you could say that with, aside from Poverty Point and a few others coming up, and that's mostly into the lie of. Well, it's location.
So I have Papua in 5th.
Yes, Lax, you're insane.
I think you are literally crazy with that. I've never seen Papua found more than like 3 or 4 cities. They just don't.
And yet I have Papua in 5th. I think I just have this theory that Papua tends to settle Northern Australia early. And I have this theory that Murray and Australia are going to beat each other up, and then Papua are just going to swoop in and just wipe them up. That's what I think is going to happen. We'll see if I'm right.
I will say we're finally getting like a good Gedemo civ. There's like 4 decent Gedemo civs, and this is one of them. Like decent AI ones. So
yeah. The other Gedemo civs are what? Yupik and Nenets?
Yeah, I would say the other Gedemo civ that I really like is in a different region. I'll come on to it when I get to that.
We'll get there.
I think hot take. I think Gedemo's best civ for in terms of AI game potential is Nanmadol. I want them in season 2.
Nanmadol are such a good.
Nanmadol's great. But I don't know. There's better civs in Polynesia, to be frank.
I mean, if they do get to Polynesia, I want at least one season to have Rapa Nui in it, just for the memes.
I will say, next CBRX season 2. I think the voting for that, Luna, please correct me if I'm horribly wrong. I think the voting for that scheduled vaguely for the end of this year, start of next year. We're probably going to be putting
a little bit earlier than that.
Oh, earlier. Okay. Exciting.
We can confirm that CBRX season 2 voting starts in 2 hours.
November 5th. No.
Vote now, guys.
Vote now on your phone. I actually expect around. I can. Okay. I fucking can.
What I was going to say anyway is that Polynesia is probably going to be made a pick 2 region, including New Zealand next time round.
Agree.
So a New Zealand civ isn't going to be like guaranteed. It's going to be like pick 2 out of that whole Polynesia, Oceania.
I mean,
region,
to be fair, there's only one remaining New Zealand civ, and they're shit.
It's just New Zealand again.
I think what is interesting though is something that a curveball I do want is vanilla Polynesia, because in Groundhog Day they came out.
I couldn't veto harder. I just
they're just boring, and they're a blob civ. They're not representative of any individual culture, and I hate that.
Yeah. To be fair, the one I do want is the JFD Hawaii.
But that was the one that was in.
That was literally Mark 2.
No, that's MC's one. JFD has a Lilo Ukofani, the first one.
Oh, I didn't know. Is that new?
It's not out yet, but
right.
He said he's working on it.
So that's right. He has one with Lily Wakolani. I actually do agree with you. That's a good choice.
How apt that when Papua comes up, we talk about literally anything
I
else.
love Papua. I love
their color. Papua's colors are beautiful.
So if this is indicative of anything, we should probably move on to Benin.
Okay.
Benin have one of the single most creative uniques ever made for a Civ 5 mod.
Do we want to describe that unique?
Yeah, I can do it. So they, when, I guess they have their cities can perform ranged attacks against other cities, and the power of that attack depends on how long it's been since they last used it. So if they haven't used it in a long time, it can do a ton of damage. But then it's one time. If they try to use it again immediately, it won't do anywhere near as much. And their citadels can perform ranged attacks as well. They against units, and they can build these walls, which are a unique improvement that goes on the on the boundaries between the tiles, and other improvements can be put on those tiles, and those walls make it harder for enemy units to move over them. But if they do move over them, there's a chance they'll be pillaged. And
in our weird metagame of assigning civilizations to Smash Bros. Characters, does this make Benin ROB?
No, I think it makes Benin something like, I don't know. Is ROB the most creative thing in?
Well, I'm thinking ROB's B special is his laser.
Yeah.
If you try and fire it over and over again, it does nothing. But if you haven't fired it for a minute, it's humongous.
Mm-hmm. I guess then.
Also, his
on the other hand, it's like Wario with his. It's like Wario with his incredible.
He's to put a League of Legends spin on it. Benin or Anivia, they set a crap ton of walls. They're just purely annoying, and the best way to kill them is just run at them.
Yeah, that is true, and that is kind of what Songhai and Ndongo very often do, and it's why I actually think Benin are maybe a little overranked here. I don't have as much faith in them as I used to do. I think they'll probably actually not make it out of Africa alive. I don't think they'll be able to.
Benin are the Symmetra of the Battle Royale.
Also fair. That's a really good app description.
I think Symmetra is better than Benin, but.
Oh
yeah. New Sim is good. I like New Sim.
Guy, who the hell's Symmetra?
Symmetra is a character in Overwatch.
Shit.
Also, shout out to the artist Franz van der Aar for having a fantastic username.
Oh yeah, Not only that, an amazing picture. I would have never thought to take Benin that way. Although it's only fit.
Amazing.
I mean,
we got a Poland ball for every single. Speaking of fucking amazing Poland balls, Jesus Christ, Dusty Girl.
Selknam have the craziest source material, city lists, civ walls, words. How do you even pronounce that leader's name? They are just the most batshit.
You just don't.
If Cthulhu had a civ, it would be the Selknam.
Very, 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 very fair. So where's the tentacles?
So when it comes
underneath the pyramid.
You take the pyramid off, and it's just old gods.
I think they're a weird one. In the early tests, they did incredibly, and I think that maybe coloured our perception of them slightly. Now, it turns out the reason they were doing incredibly is because their unique wasn't actually doing what it was meant to do. It was giving them, I think, a bonus on all flat tiles when it wasn't meant. It was meant to only give a bonus on certain flat tiles.
No, it was giving a bonus. It was giving a bonus on flat tiles, and it was supposed to not have a slightly different bonus for hill tiles. It gave it to both. To all tiles. So we would have regular tiles in the capital having 4 food, 3 production, 1 culture, or something like that.
Can I just say that Broken Selknam were still the second strongest Grand Civ in South America. The Pampas are so ridiculously broken.
Yeah, I'm glad they're not in. They're a weird one of Selknam because they're a weird one for my tests personally. The first thing I remember of them is that only in my games, in none of the other testers' test games, but in my games, no matter how many times I reinstalled the mod, they would never start with any settlers. Not even the first settler. They would just start with the workers, the warriors, and the scout. I don't know.
The rest
why.
were tentacles.
I reinstalled it, and it never changed. No one else has ever reported it. So what happened there, I have no idea. The second thing is the first build of them. All of their units could walk on water.
Old gods confirm.
Now, Grant's an interesting one because this is obviously Grant's only civ in CBR, and when we were voting on CBRX, Grant only had a handful of civs out. They were all fairly XML, fairly kind of rudimentary.
Yes,
but a lot characterful, very characterful, and very unique choices of civs. And Grant has now done loads of civs.
Yeah, he has reworked. He's reworked every single civ he's put out.
He's reworked the Selknam from the ground up. So the one you can actually download is nothing to do with the one in the game. It's completely different. He's put out some incredible stuff now, and I'm really hoping we get some Leon action in particular in the next CBR.
Leon and also the one he made with what's his face. Lulan is quite a good one for.
Yes, Lulan's great, and a great starting location as well, right in the middle of the Xinjiang desert. We don't have any other civs of high quality that start there, so it'll be really cool to see them.
The other, can we just have the big meme and have the Chagos Islands getting out?
No,
bad idea.
Banned.
Anyway,
right, let's move on.
Moving on.
Oh,
this civ, the Vikings. The first thing I want to say about the Vikings is that if the Sami didn't exist, they would be top.
Yeah, for sure.
They are the only civ that I have ever seen be able to consistently go toe to toe with Carl the 12th.
Yes. Now, if Carl the 12th was in it, I think Sami would be 30th.
If Carl the 12th was in here, he would win. Just
the game, just straight up.
Carl the 12th is the single best AI game civ ever made.
But he's not.
Even including Uruguay?
He's not as good as Uruguay at peak. No way.
Uruguay
at
just
peak is number 1. But Uruguay.
Carl the 12th is a perfect domination civ. The best domination. He has a fantastic AI. And Ragnar, however, in one of my games, was able to kill him by hitting him with the berserkers, which are for some reason just broken. The They're like overstated for the era, and Ragnar will produce them and use them to just kill everything.
Except the Sami, apparently.
Yeah, he doesn't like them.
What's weird is the Vikings have been just utterly unstoppable in several different AI games. They were scary in, what was it? It was like some AI, Northern Europe, or no, it was all of Europe, one of those Europe games. And I had to rebalance Groundhog Day Mark 9 in order to prevent the Vikings from winning every time, because they would
You took them out, didn't you, eventually?
No, they were still in there. I just made their start worse. And I had like moved other civs closer to them to box them in, and they still did very well. I think they tied a couple of rounds. But in the early versions, they were just steamrolling literally everybody one after the other.
Yeah, I straight up have Vikings to win. Number 1 on mine. I see their AI. I just see success. I see Sami. I see going to snowball and have a big army of useless units. I see Vikings as the winner of Scandinavia, and I could see them moving east with only major challenges from the Americas and potentially a unified Africa, which we will get to later.
Yeah. Vikings.
Funnily enough, they have one of the lowest deviation. We're all kind of agreed, if you look through the rankings, that with one exception of someone who put them in 33rd, but that person actually isn't even a ranker anymore, I don't think, so they just kind of left. But we all kind of have them roughly...
We ejected them from the panel.
Well, no,
their opinion was improper.
They just vanished. We all have them in... I don't think he is. Poom, I think, is gone.
Poom is gone, yeah.
Between 10 and... We all have them between 10 and 20-ish, which I think kind of affirms what we're saying. We think that, hell, they will probably do well, but... the Sami. Oh, the Sami. We'll get on to them.
I don't know how... I think the Sami are one of the few civs that gets a buff with TSL.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
But not one of the few civs. Kazakhs easily as
well.
Anyway.
From my baby in the Scandinavian winters to apparently the Greenland winters.
The Iroquois.
I'm just gonna say a story first thing. The first game of Civ 5 I ever played, it was on a world map, and I found Hiawatha in South America, and he beat the shit out of me on like settler difficulty because I was that bad at the game, but also his AI is a dick.
Mm-hmm.
On settler difficulty, they won't even declare war against you, so that's impressive.
I was very bad at the game.
That's fair. I still am.
I kind of like my friends just getting into the game, and I just drop them on Prince difficulty in a multiplayer match. I try not to be too much of a dick, but yeah.
It already sounds like you're being quite a bit of a dick.
I should give him a sympathy and put him on Warlord or something.
Now this is coming back to the Iroquois. This is I think it's very interesting. We have the Iroquois in 14th. And they are still the 4th highest ranked civ in North America. It says a lot about how powerful North American civs are going to be in this game. And
the Americans in general are just overpowered.
Well, which is kind of a good thing, because Eurasia, we always say, has an advantage because you start on the bigger continent, although obviously we saw Brazil kind of shoot that in the face. Yeah, I think the Iroquois are in kind of a lopsided position because while they are boxed in, allegedly, by Canada and Poverty Point, and Metis also usually kind of settled down towards Minnesota and kind of box them in that way. We also know that the Iroquois, they build cities, that's what they do. They expand like fucking rabbits. And as you can see in the shot, they just basically just hammered cities all over Greenland, which might actually negatively impact them. I'm not quite sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it just begs the question, can they break out quick enough, basically? I think it's going to be a race for the Iroquois. It's going to be, can they settle enough quickly, as is their kind of prerogative in most games, that they don't get hammered in too early? Because if they do, I don't see a way out for them, really. They're never really good enough militarily to take on a surging Poverty Point or the Apache ever. or presumably at this point, if they make it that long, a gigantic Metis. I just don't see the Iroquois having the military might to be able to take that on without really getting those early settles in. So, but that's what they do.
The other thing you have to look at is, unlike the other Chrissy 15 rework, this has made the Civ like going from like a traditional like poop tier Civ in vanilla to a top tier Civ.
They're not even shit tier. They're shit tier to play as in vanilla, but as an AI, they're all fucking.
Iroquois, despite being so close to Canada, their first settle doesn't matter. Their first war matters. How early will they declare on Canada? How early will they push them? And will they be able to finish the deed? I've seen many games where they just funneled in their unique unit through the Great Lakes region and just got shot down. And eventually, I turned off my computer, as in I turned off my monitor, and I came back the morning after, and I saw Canada actually spanning almost their real borders, except somehow losing their capital because weird games. And Iroquois were nothing. They were just a pebble on the entire map.
I mean, one of the reasons we left the Iroquois in, kind of, even though a lot of people were saying at the time it's way too close to Canada, they should be ironed out. They should be what's the fucking word? You know what I mean. It should be swapped out for the third place. When we did the test runs, the most common outcome we were seeing in these games was Iroquois in Canada, yes, going to war very early, but in those early wars, not really exchanging cities, because the Great Lakes are actually quite a hard territory to fight early wars.
Yeah, there's a lot of
choke points. And choke points are super important in those early areas, before planes, before even good ranged units.
It allows deity to be possible. If you can get a good choke point, you can just farm. Even as a player against deity AIs, it is possible.
And I think,
especially as a player, because a player actually knows what to do with it.
And I think really, if the Iroquois can't get the handle on Canada early and take a city from them or two, or their capital or something, they're going to get boxed in. It's hard to box in the Iroquois, but I think it will happen.
Well, I will say it also heavily depends on the resolution between what will almost definitely be an early war between the Apache and Poverty Point. I think if the Apache really cripple Poverty Point, that's going to help Iroquois in their quest to kind of expand south, because Apache don't really like.
I think like
settling cities, but they don't.
The
really
other
like
thing is, I can really see Iroquois ending up like the latter stages of Mark II, Blackfoot. I mean, before Blackfoot, like Resurgence. Was it Blackfoot who had a lot of cities up in like Nunavut?
Yeah. No, that was
the Sioux who had them up there.
The Sioux had a bunch of cities up in Nunavut, which they fucking lost early because.
I remember someone being exiled to Nunavut for a while. Yeah, that's how I can see Iroquois going.
But in Greenland.
Yeah.
I would genuinely not even be that surprised if the Iroquois do all their big settling in Greenland, get kicked out of North America, and then just go, okay, we're a European power now, and take out the Isles, Iceland style. I would be incredibly hype. But it could happen,
let's move on to number 13, who are like, I would say, the biggest surprise package of like the pre-game, Nepal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nepal, I think, is a little overrated, but holy, can they do a thing? Their AI is absolutely brutal. It's just TSL. That's their major hurting factor.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, mountains. The thing is, Nepal again. I like to compare these civs to their Mark II counterparts because locations are very, very important. Obviously, AIs are very different, but I think immediately I want to go Nepal. I'm looking at Tibet, and how did Tibet respond to being in a big mountainy area? And the answer is turtle. They turtle like shit. Nepal aren't a turtle AI. They do like to expand, but mountains are hard to expand from in the same way they're hard to expand into if someone's already sitting there.
Yeah.
So for me, Nepal's kind of biggest strength will be if they seize the opportunity and take out India, Maratha, or Taungu early. And keep a good, strong, built-up core there. Especially India. India are the ones to kill, really.
Yeah, I think
the thing for Nepal is Nepal. So the main weakness of Nepal is that its capital is within striking distance of India, and the way that India settles its cities, it's usually in a pattern that allows Delhi to be protected pretty easily. Nepal, Kathmandu is just on the wrong side of the Himalayas to protect it from India. And usually what happens is the border that is formed between India and Nepal is right on the gates of Kathmandu. And if India has a good war or just like a good surge in a war, then that could mean the loss of their capital or at least the loss of several cities that are just core cities for Nepal. And the way that Nepal usually settles, it's usually to the east or to the southeast or even the south or even the northeast. So it's just away from India. And that's just not a good way for Nepal to develop a good shield that could protect it from India.
All of that having been said, you build a bunch of cities in the mountains, you're going to be there for a while. I don't think Nepal are going to be being wiped out early in any conceivable scenario. Whether they're able to turn that into being a big power is up in the air, but they're going to be around for a while.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think the other thing is that Nepal have that like surprise factor of just doing the craziest shit, and like that one glorious test where they founded like 3 cities all the way down the east coast of the Indian Ocean. So they have like Singapore, Indonesia, then Western Australia. That I feel like was just an incredible bias roll, but they still have the aggression. I think if they do take out India, or they do even like go towards India and manage to get some luck, they could very easily just become like the Vietnam of this game.
A classic case, by the way, of an AI that just does not match the actual historical.
Yeah, last sword AI.
Yeah.
I mean, God. I mean,
yeah. So now we move on to the other vanilla civ, the Aztecs.
The Aztecs, the meme civ.
Everyone's favorite civ.
Oh, I was really happy when the Aztecs were voted in. I thought they were definitely the best. Thought they were definitely the best civ in the area. I was
wrong.
No, of course not. Wrong. So much.
Can I just say who
could have had a top hat paladin representation?
Almost any civ. Yeah, almost any civ in that region would have been better than the Aztecs. I also think they're about their rank should be about twice as low as it is. Where did I put them?
Yep. I would say my favorite civ in the region is Teotihuacan by an absolute mark.
Yeah, Teotihuacan. I mean,
I agree.
Fair. It's not even.
There was a legendary Groundhog Day test with Teotihuacan in it, where they their capital reached 77 pop.
Yeah, I remember that.
Now, I gotta say, for myself, the Aztecs are completely justifiably as high as they are, because they are one of the best vanilla civs, objectively, in terms of holding their own in AI matches, and they are aggressive, and most importantly, God, they're isolated. Down there in Mexico, they haven't got that many natural... Really, they've got one natural predator, and that is the Apache. Now... Aztec-Apache wars have kind of gone either way. We're talking more about the weirdness of the Apache than the Aztecs, I think, in this situation, because the Apache fuck knows what they do. They're the biggest wild card in the whole competition, apart from maybe Qing, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But that gives them a really comfy position where they've obviously got nothing to fear from Haiti, and Venezuela tend to get bogged down in their own continent rather than looking upwards. However, I will say, and I mentioned this somewhere else, Venezuela have a much stronger naval focus than the Aztecs. So it could be that if they go hard on the navy in this game and start to grow in power, the Aztecs could find their coastal cities at least in real big trouble if Venezuela come knocking.
I feel like we always talked about talked about on the slide with Venezuela how Venezuela could be like the naval power of this game, or the Caribbean naval power, and that could I don't think it's as likely as it was with Mark II, but we could see a situation where again, like the Mesoamerican civ gets fucked over by like a hard border, or a hard Mexican border, and then and then a strong civs to the south and east. So they just get stuck in Mesoamerica where the land is pretty shit.
Maybe. I see the Aztecs doing well this game, if I'm being brutally honest with myself. They're expansive, they're aggressive.
No, counterpoint to that, I want to say in every TSL, or almost every, with some exceptions, true start location game I've seen them in, they get screwed by geography. Their cities don't grow very much. They lose
definitely.
Yeah, they lose what cities they found outside of central Mexico, and then get reduced to their capital, and then they hold on to that for a long time, and then eventually die because their tech is terrible.
Aztecs have
I've seen that.
Can I elaborate on that?
I've actually seen Washington. I've seen Washington kill Aztecs in a couple of games.
I want to really elaborate on that. Imagine being a grain of sand in the middle of an hourglass. You're stuck there, but everything is going to flow towards you. That is the geography that is Mexico. Everything will fly towards them. The further they settle away, the more weaker and harder to defend their cities become. If they settle towards the Apache, Venezuela is going to move in with their super aggressive settles and move towards them. They go towards Venezuela, they're going to start to see Apache on their throw step. And I do not see their biases as being strong enough to actually withstand it. They don't have very strong defensive modifiers, meaning they're going to have walls while most other civs will be sitting maybe even with castles. I do not see them surviving. I see them being a paper tiger that's just going to get washed away. When you're next to Apache and when you're next to Venezuela, in the power of Haiti, you're really not going to be relevant. And speaking of Haiti, they can't even expand towards them. Low naval biases, meaning they're going to get run over when Venezuela maybe has a navy, but I see most of the battle happening on the land and most of it moving through that funnel. I do not see them. I would have ranked them somewhere in the low 30s.
Oh my no, way too low.
Yeah, they have it. If Apache mill around too much or get stuck in a war with Poverty Point, Aztecs can go straight up their ass and just kill.
And they're uncontested in North America at that point. If the Aztecs conquer all of Apache, then who's going to stop them?
Okay, that's
I don't think that, if anything, if Aztecs put up a fight against Apache, that's more for Poverty Point's benefit than Aztecs. Like, I'm putting the Aztecs at 49. That's how less faith I have.
Holy crap. Yeah, I saw they had a high deviation.
Yeah, I think the other thing with the Aztecs is that, like, the AI is okay. It's, like, not bad. It's better than most vanilla civs, but it's still not, like, a top-tier AI compared to something like the civ that I think should have got in, which is Sonora.
Sonora, I'm not sure eligible. I don't think they should be eligible.
All right.
They were independent nation.
Yeah, but still Sonora kick-ass.
Anyways, any last words before we move on?
No,
let's move on to Fiona's civ.
This civ, the Kamagane.
I mean, I'm tempted to just put them number one week in, week out because Fiona made them, and I have utmost faith in her.
I mean,
really well made civ, really, really good position, somewhat weak neighbors, and the ability to take advantage of chaos. The only thing I can imagine is I could totally imagine that them effectively just settling 4 cities, making an army, and not doing anything with it.
That is weak neighbors. I mean, they're bordering Qing
and Kazakhs.
But I think you said a really interesting thing, though, when you said take control of chaos. Actually, I think that's actually quite astute. We're looking at a nation who are bordering China. China is in this game going to be one of the maddest regions. from the get-go. It's way more crowded than it was in Mark II, and even in Mark II it was pretty crazy. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of early wars, a lot of armies getting diverted right into the heart of China, which is, again, why the Xia are probably one of the lowest ranked civs in the region, because they're basically going to end up as the battleground, I think, for a lot of it. The Kamugs, with their mounted unit bias, are going to be the ones who are quick and mobile and able to take advantage of civs at their weakest points. From a vantage point up north with not really any strong contested neighbours. I mean, the Evenks are pretty... Now, what I will say against the Kamugs is when the worst tests I've seen them is when they get bogged down with the Evenks. I don't know why this is, but for some reason, they seem to have a blind spot when it comes to battling the Evenks. They never seem to make that good progress against them, or at least that quick progress. And they spend ages trying to batter them down, only to basically let a civ from the south, one of the Qin or the Qing, grow way too powerful to stop. So, awkwardly, I would almost say it's better just to ignore them, because the Evenks probably aren't going to...
I agree. That's the biggest pitfall for them, is if they should just ignore the Evenks. If they try to go after them, they're not going to do it. I mean, a big problem I've seen with the Kamugs, who all around have a great AI, except they sometimes get really committed to wars they can't win, and then they just lose their core while their army is off somewhere else.
They're very, very hardy, and I don't think they don't sign peace treaties easily.
No, they don't. I think their position in the ranking is actually very representative of how I think they'll do. They're a top quarter civ. They'll probably be there for a while, but they're not going to make it into the top 10. They're not a contender to necessarily win, I don't think.
At the very least, they're going to be more Mongol than the Mongols were.
Yeah. So I think moving on to number 10, Venezuela. I just want to talk about, I mentioned earlier, a Gedemo civ that I like. I think there's two civs that in the Venezuela region that I really wanted to get in. Which is Gizerium's Medellin cartel, just for the memes. And the other one is my favorite Gedemo civ, which is the Tyrona chieftains.
Do you want to say more about that? I don't know much about them.
So Tyrona are a civ with a ridiculous leader screen. It's taken from the same cartoon that Gedemo uses all of his from. They're just indigenous people. They've got, I think it's basically an XML civ, but they've just got really good biases, and they killed the Qin in one of my games. Their alpha is completely broken. I just like them. They're a fun civ. They've got silly colors.
Yeah, that sounds like a Gedemo civ.
It's like orange and dark brown.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
Perfect.
I
just murder our eyes.
Is it weird that I'm excited by this prospect? I think it be.
But yeah, Venezuela are cool. I mean, I'm sad that they're not the broken version, because that was funny, and they're just...
As the person who balanced them, I'm very happy they're not the broken version.
Venezuela is actually Glai IRL. He gets culture by causing outrage, and he gets a lot of influence. But what does he do with it?
So you nerfed them by decreasing the amount of culture they get. They still denounce everybody, right?
Yes, of course.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's just the culture gain on average was put down to be more of a hefty buff.
I don't want to put. I'm not trying to say that DMS made a broken mod or an unbalanced mod. DMS is the idea of getting a culture bonus when you denounce a civ works really well in a game that's balanced for about 8 civs, which is how civ is meant to be played.
Not 60.
When you put 60 civs and Venezuela decides to denounce all of them as soon as they meet them, suddenly they're on 100 times as much culture as everyone else, except the Qing, who are even more imbalanced in that respect. And that again comes from the fact it's such a big game.
Yeah, but the Qing have been nerfed as well.
Yeah, the Qing have also been nerfed.
The Qing were more nerfed, but they have both been
Generally,
balanced.
Venezuela also had the advantage of Gran Colombia was shit, and Venezuela had a 8 in 10 chance of just eating them within 100 turns, and then just sciencing with the jungle and dominating, getting so much land, while Uruguay got caught up with the then broken Selknam that they were able to just roll.
Yeah,
but now the Kurikoro will stop them from doing that for about 10 turns before Venezuela capture all the Cuicaro cities except their capital.
Yeah.
This is just a run-on joke.
The Tibet, where it's just like an enclave.
I'm gonna be so disappointed if their capital.
It's gonna be Tibet, but like the opposite in terms of diplomatic relations. Everyone's gonna hate them, but they'll still be.
People hate Tibet. Tibet.
I wanna pass.
The only reason why Tibet didn't die was because Vietnam loved them.
Until they didn't.
I wonder if Uruguay. Anyways, one thought, or no thought, a statement with facts and stats and statistics. On average, in games where the maximum amount of policies was around 19, Uruguay. Oh my God, that's not Uruguay. That's Venezuela. Venezuela would have 23 to 24. This is insanely consistent. They are always around 10 to 15% ahead in your amount of social policies. Is that enough to make them insanely broken?
No.
As a player? Yes. As a AI game? Depends on the trees they go down and depends on the bonuses they pick.
Yeah, I mean, social policies to an AI aren't that important.
I mean, I guarantee you they're going to go patronage with those extras. It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, obviously. It's the classic.
Check these dubs.
Yeah, having good tech is better than having good culture.
Venezuela just somehow managed to concert. Is policy saving on, actually? That's a good point. Is policy saving on?
No, it isn't.
Oh, because I was going to say Venezuela just coincidentally just save all their policies for rationalism and commerce and just get super money and super science.
It would be good, but no, policy saving's not on. They'll be able to fill those trees out quickly anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're all agreed Venezuela are going to be strong. They don't really have any powerful rivals. Obviously, the Nazca can be a thorn in their side, but they're quite far away. The Cuicaro is shit. Haiti is shit.
Yeah.
So
again,
they're pretty uncontested.
Don't doubt on the Nazca. They're coming.
We'll get to Uruguay.
Well, they need to
I'm
drive.
going to be laughing so hard when Cuicaro makes its own resurgent empire and conquers the region.
Yes.
Guys, there'll be egg on all of our faces. But
moving on to number 9, Ndongo. How are these guys at number 9?
Well, this is a little bit of an Australia problem again, but slightly different. In the south of Africa, we have Ndongo and we have Zimbabwe. They're both pretty good. They both have lots of room to expand. One of them will kill the other. In test games, it was pretty much 50-50. The one that does that is suddenly in one of the cushiest positions in the cylinder, with absolutely no borders except to the north, and so much jungle, which is A, just great land, and B, really easy to defend.
So the Congo versus the Boers.
It's a Congo versus the Boers again, yeah. Now,
except this time the Boers are worse,
and the Congo a bit better. It's the same leader, by the way, and Zing.
Except this time the Congo's northern neighbor is also competent, and also as a civ like Ethiopia is even more competent.
Well, I don't know. Ethiopia were good. I wouldn't want to knock Ethiopia. I think Ethiopia are better.
Beta Israel are more aggressive.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
If anything, that might cause Congo to focus its efforts down south, where they only have to fight one enemy, Zimbabwe, instead of having to fight two in Benin and Beta Israel.
But at the same time, Benin could just backdoor squad them if they go south.
Well, one thing I will say is Ndongo have a killer UA, which is going to come in super useful, and it's a last sword civ, so I can confirm, yes, they do use it. They can transport their units up a river in one turn, so however many tiles that is. So if they have units fighting down in the Congo in the Congo source, down fighting Zimbabwe, and then suddenly Benin declare war, they can transport them to their northern border in a turn.
I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
Yep, that's their UA.
It looks amazing.
So they have some real good uniques, and it's a last sword civ.
Yeah, last sword AI.
For some reason, the AI knows how to.
1,300 lines of lure.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Benin's unique improvement is like ridiculous. It's like 1,200, 1,300.
Oh yeah, I put the Tyrone. Sisters put the Tyrone icon in Discord.
Imagine Last Sword Lure with Techno Star AI.
Oh god, fuck.
Oh no.
I think that would make a civilization so powerful it would start taking over real life countries.
I will say there's one thing with Svalbard that I did, which is the Citizen AI thing. I think I would need Lassos for that. When it replaces biofuel with like the oil and coal, I think only Svalbard build the ones that use biofuel, and so therefore no one else can build tanks or fighters if they use it.
Let's see. If you wanted to see a real overpowered civ, you should have seen the first build of Canton, which gave 300% Golden Age points for the population on the coast. So what would happen was that you would get permanent Golden Ages for the rest of the game. It just would not end.
Christ.
For some dumb reason, I've noticed civs that have an excessive amount of Golden Ages perform weirdly better. Like, illogically better. I don't know why that is the case, but it's happiness alone.
I think it's really simple. You get plus 20% production when you're in a golden age. So these civs that are permanently in a golden age basically just get a flat plus 20% production compared to everyone else most of the time.
I mean, on the other hand, you have Byzantium, who got golden ages whenever they declared war, and Byzantium.
How about I lose?
But those weren't permanent.
Hello?
Excuse me?
Hello? Anyone want to run up to that?
It wasn't me. I was looking at chat with Top Hat.
Someone's got a beautiful singing voice out there. I really
That was me.
appreciate that. Oh, thank you.
But yeah, so basically Congo, I think, are ranked too high. I have them at 34th because I think they're like the 4th best civ in Africa.
Golly, you mean
but I do agree.
Oh man,
I think Benin, Beta Israel, and Songhai and Zimbabwe are better than them.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I have faith in Ndongo.
I think in Ndongo, they could do.
Oh, we're doing the thing. We're talking over each other. Until very recently, until kind of the last minute, I had Ndongo ahead of Zimbabwe as my top-rated civ in Africa. At the last minute, I flipped it because I think Zimbabwe just have that stronger defensive position where they have no one to fight them from the bottom from the start. Actually, someone, I think it was Aaron, just said there's no Zulu in this game, which is true. Zimbabwe just have a really confident starting position, and that's what I think ultimately brings Ndongo down. They are surrounded in a way that Zimbabwe aren't going to be, and even though their uniques are really will help them with that, and that's why I think they will stick around or have a good chance of sticking around. At the end of the day, I'm not sure the favors is completely with them, but we'll see.
Oh Christ! It's getting light outside.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Don't worry about it. Don't worry, Lordy.
It is sunrise.
We're going Australia.
So Australia. I think Australia, if they beat the Murray, have a chance to be a top.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I don't even want to.
The Murray and can get onto mainland Asia, they have a shot.
Well, yeah.
And that's the thing.
I mean,
I don't think they can.
I hate talking about Australia because it's like, yeah, they'll be a top 2 civ. They'll probably finish second. But really, though, they're not going to win. They're never going to win. And this time round, last game, their pathway to breaking onto mainland Asia would have been Indonesia, the Philippines, Champa, Burma. They could have done it. They still fucked it up. This time, we've got admittedly slightly more.
They did get up to Japan.
I'm not really sure.
Australia in MK2 did get Japan.
Yeah, it got Japan.
I guess.
But that's not mainland.
Islands. They're good at islands.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And this time we have Sulu. We have fucking what do you call them? Canton pirates. We're gonna have some real naval superpowers in that area this time.
Yeah.
This is actually a good question. Parks. Big naval biases, very good on the sea. Does anyone know what Hawk's like on the sea? I haven't seen him use ships that much.
In the community game, I believe he built a huge navy.
Okay.
and attacked the man who were in. It was a weird map. It was one of Bamford's
it wasn't TSL.
weird maps.
But the thing is Hawk gonna beat a naval focused civ like Sulu or Canton? And I don't think that's
No.
I think the thing with Hawk though is I don't know many games where he survived long enough to use his uniques on this sort of scale. If he can get to his uniques, he will probably, if he keeps competitive tech, he will probably, once he gets Cyro, like boost ahead in tech, get to Future Worlds units first. At the same time, he gets his unique extra range paratroopers, and that's just scary by default.
That's very true. Paratroopers you use are not to be messed with. Paratroopers were used in the final invasion in Mark 2.1.
I think I have
of all the paratroopers,
but maybe that's because I have Papua so high. But I don't see him having as much impact in this game as they did in the other one. I just don't think they have. I think in a way Australia the first time around was a bit of a fluke. What we've seen from Australia, the continent I should say, in the test runs is a lot more foreign cities. In the first game, the only time a civ that wasn't Australia or Kimberley landed a city in Australia was when Maori conquered Sydney. Oh yeah, mainland Australia. And until then, no one got a civ. No one got a city on Australia until Brazil. We know from the test games that that's not likely to happen. Western Australia's been left empty. Nepal can settle that. Oman can settle that. And then Selknam can fucking settle that. And then New Zealand and Tonga and Papua often get a city there as well. I just don't see Australia being the uncontestable power of that region that they were.
I kind of agree, but at the same time, I think there's no way Australia, if they do win the Australia battle, don't make it to a top 10.
Sure.
Definitely. I think if they do beat out the Murray and, mostly unify Australia, if Papua doesn't get half of it, which is rare,
they can do it.
Much, then I think, you'll see them basically finish how they did in Mark II. They'll probably be like at least fourth, if not better, but they won't win.
If they come second again, I am strongly in favor of just wiping that continent from the map.
Or putting land bridges there or something stupid. Anyways,
just a big ass ocean.
I just bring up
what does the SAR paratroopers? What is their bonus?
They have longer range. I think they're strong.
Okay.
Kind of boring.
So of all the paratroopers in the game, which civ has the strongest paratrooper uniques?
I don't know.
That would be Australia.
Rhodesia, Australia.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, who?
Rhodesia, the paratrooper unique.
Oh, I pulled up the document. Let me read it out. The SASR replaces the paratrooper. The SASR may paradrop up to 11 tiles rather than the 9, and gains science when defeating an enemy equal to 50% of its combat strength. In addition, its combat strength is increased to 70 while you're researching a technology no other player has discovered.
That's good with FW. That's really good with Future World.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that keeps the paratroopers relevant, and they'll be keeping them around.
And also, their other UU is a research lab replacement.
The other thing as well, aside from all of the God, they actually sound like an absolutely useless civ in game because science bonuses that late are always shit. But anyway,
their UA is early game food bonuses.
Yeah. The thing I would say is that it's not so much about what your paratrooper unique does. The fact that you have a unit that is a paratrooper means they'll build it. And that's really what makes the difference. A lot of the time, the only thing separating two powerful civs in Mark II was whether one of them was building paratroopers or whether one of them was building fucking drones or some other fucking scouting unit. Cough, Vietnam.
That is the point. Unique units of paratroopers are the most broken thing just due to the nature of Civ Battle Royale.
The only other one I've seen is the 2 Space Marine civs which have XCOM replacement.
Oh, Christ.
So you have
does anyone have a Future World specific replacement?
Not yet, but Future Worlds hugely nerfs those civs because they have to wait so much longer to get their XCOM replacement.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go on because honestly,
I just want to say Cloudberg. Cloudberg, did you nerf Billy Hughes Australia for ground?
No, I didn't change anything about the civ itself. After the initial runs, I had to move other civs slightly closer to them because they were winning every time. But that was not. This isn't the same Australia.
I know it's not the same Australia. I'm just wondering if Billy Hughes would be like is he the on paper the best Australian?
I think so, probably. Yeah.
Let's move to number 7.
Okay. See, I don't know too much about the Qing, but I mean, I know they're good. I know they were broken, but like
they were broken, but they're not now. So don't worry. Yeah. Don't fret about.
I've never played with them.
So anyway, moving on to Qing.
Yeah, Qing had one of the most decisive Groundhog Day wins ever. They won like half the rounds in a Mark 7, and I think that was pre-nerf, so it may have just been because they were broken, but they're pretty good anyway. They have high biases. I actually had to. I think I changed their biases down partway through. It didn't make any difference.
The Qing expand. They expand that like crazy early on. They love doing that. They always do that.
They get out to Japan before Shikoku can do.
Often. What they sometimes can't do is build a military quick enough to keep up with that. So they can be caught out by early wars. And that's where we kind of see them falter when we do see them falter. Here's the weird thing about them. If they start to lose ground, it's like they just give up. Seriously.
Oh my God.
You see them be massive or they're not there. They've been killed.
That is so legit. I've seen them go from a major power to a rump state in one era. I literally took a shower and the Qing disappeared. They literally just gone.
It's really bizarre.
I don't know pretty accurate to history.
Oh.
Yeah, true. But anyway, but this is the thing. I said a bit earlier, I teased the Qing are the biggest wild card in this competition for me by miles. They could like just eat Asia so quick it's not even entertaining, or they could genuinely be bottom 10. So why are we put them top 10? Because most of the time they tend to lean on the world power side of things. If we're going by odds, I would definitely expect them to stick around. But whatever that happens, they'll be entertaining. So
I think the fact that there's been tests where I think the Qing have killed Peak.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what I was going to mention. Qing have made it into Australia and have killed the U Peak, and like not Alaska. In like modern era. That was like oh my God, what's the era replacement era? Middle
Enlightenment.
The Enlightenment era. They were already moving in line infantry and just like completely fortifying it. They are a nightmare, and I do understand this rating. Oh, but
and just imagine that.
So toxic, dude.
Imagine a civ that is super powerful in the Enlightenment era in both Asia and North America. That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's someone said in chat, if you want to nerf the Qing, just give them opium SMH.
And that's a good note, I think, to end on. Anything else?
And still too soon.
Still the memes.
Right, let's talk about the Limity.
All right, mateys.
Par Louis.
Louis. Who I'm sorry. I'm in the world.
The matey.
Métis.
The Métis.
Oh yeah.
Métis and a Louis Real.
Is it Métis? Métis?
Métis.
Tim Horton, Chan.
It's French, so what do you think?
Métis.
Let's find out. Yeah, it's Métis. You're all right.
Matey, yar.
Yar, yar.
The pirates. Something. So these are all weird, Civ. They were originally, I think we could probably reveal that I think in the first kind of round of preliminary voting in the PR where we were kind of putting our initial suspicions about who might be good before we saw any tests, I think Matey were top. Am I right in thinking that?
They're still my top.
They have solid biases. Pretty large area, and America
huge
is
area.
Gooch. It is the best spot to be right now.
So based on what I saw in the test is they founded a ton of cities. They made great use of the amount of space that they have, but they sucked at war. They just couldn't take cities from people. And
Bingo.
they lose
Bingo.
their
That's
peripheral
it.
cities to like Poverty
Holy
Point and
bingo.
Haida
I
and
mean,
stuff.
when they go west, it's not much of an issue because the Haida and the Yupik are worse than they are.
Well, the Haida tend to hug to the coast, so they don't tend to bother the gonna get used to that. The Métis that much. And obviously the Yupik they really are hopeless. So I think it is true that they probably have the roomiest start. I mean, Aaron will definitely have done the fucking stats on this, but it feels like to me they have the roomiest start of any civ in the fucking competition.
Other than
the Kazakhs, I think the Métis are probably roomier. I think the Kazakhs just have shit neighbors.
okay,
That's
kind
the
of.
thing.
Yeah,
Fair enough. But yeah, the thing is, I mean, I've only seen a few of the tests, but I don't remember seeing them taking a city. And when Cloudberg says, or I can't remember who it was, saying they lose cities to like civs like Poverty Point, this isn't like we've had runs where Poverty Point have been excellent. Even in runs where Poverty Point are getting pummeled by the Apache, you still see them sometimes taking a Métis city up in Minnesota somewhere.
But that's because Métis have so many cities and they don't build enough military.
And that's exactly it. They're a classic overextender. Now, maybe there's enough space and maybe they'll extend enough that they can actually afford to lose some of those cities in the early game. And once there is no room to expand, maybe they'll actually focus on building a military. I don't know.
They have done that in some tests and taken off now.
Exactly. So that's kind of their route to victory, given that they apparently won't build a military anyway in the early game.
Yeah, and they have been some weird tests.
They could be a big rebound.
Yeah, if everyone else is shit, then they're amazing. Basically.
And yet we've put them 6th, which feels too high on a civ that depends on everyone being shit.
We've put Apache 5th. They're next. I think that's because if Apache are good, they win. If Apache are bad, then the whole continent dissolves into civil war, and the Métis have enough time to get good.
And the Métis probably come out top.
Imagine if a crappier AI version of the Boers were dropped in without, for the most part, Congo and the Zulu.
Yeah.
That's basically the Métis.
Yeah.
They have no competition, but they are surrounded by worse neighbors.
We don't know. We don't know whether they have the science.
Slightly worse land.
We don't know whether they have the science focus of the Boers, really, though.
Yeah, that's the problem. Their infrastructure. It's
Culture
a case
and
of
trade.
Settle a crap ton, but don't build units and like wait until they literally can't do anything else. And then if they can't settle any more cities, then maybe. But this is just something to be seen in the Royale. I don't know.
I could see the Métis falling in part 1 quite a few ranks because I think a lot of the reason they're this high is because we were quite confident in them before the test, just due to how much space they had.
Yeah.
And I think in part 1, a lot of that initial confident ranking is probably going to have ebbed away a bit. So I think you can probably suspect that they're going to tumble down a few ranks next part.
So now we're getting into the top 5 are all the respective top of their regions.
We start with the Apache.
Number 5. Yeah,
Oh, boy.
AKA the Qing of North America. Actually, do you know what? I said the Qing were the biggest wild card. I'm not even sure because the Apache, the Qing makes sense. The Qing have good and bad days, but like I understand the pattern they follow. Like I kind of explained it. I don't understand the Apache. Sometimes they just eat Poverty Point in like 50 turns. Sometimes they just don't build an army. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, the Apache
they never make any sense to me.
The Apache to me seem like they pick how good they are based on the intensity of the well-known song by the Sugar Hill Gang. Sometimes they get the chorus and then they just go and kill people, and sometimes they get like the build-up and it's shit.
You mean Rapper's Delight?
Same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess it's a weird reach way around of going around it. But I know what you mean. It does feel like more than anyone else, it feels like they just roll their biases at random at the start. Now,
their
most
low
of the time,
rolls and their high rolls seem to be a lot less deep and tall. Their worst situation is better than some civs' average situation, and their best situation is a lot less awesome than other civs' best situation, especially for the upcoming 4 with a lot less variation. It's very clear that they will stick around to be a regional power, but will they dominate the game?
Who the fuck knows?
Who the fuck knows? Yeah.
They do have
breaking out of North
censored.
America itself is pretty hard to do when compared to others. Because North America itself is just too wide itself to maintain to have a focused break into another continent. It's not like we're it's not like we're in Eurasia. Eurasia is just massive by itself, where its size just dominates everything else, and you can get into anywhere else. Or South America or Africa, where you could just jump between the two pretty easily. North America itself is pretty isolated in the fact that it's not big enough to have the same effect as Eurasia, and it's not small enough to be ignored like Australia.
Yeah. So
Inuit made it look easy in Mark II, and I think that's because they had the unique advantage of having all that Kakas land at the top, which would be a very good natural barrier if it was any good land. Well, they could work that land because the Uniques worked like that. So they could sweep down quite effortlessly. No one gets that start in this. The Yupik are the closest, and they're just not nearly as competent as the Inuit. So, or at least as the Inuit were in Mark II, because the Inuit are usually shit. No one has that bonus, so I do think you are right. What direction do you attack from? Now, I will say, the Apache have no West Coast rivals, really. Haida could come south. They usually tend to focus north, because they usually tend to go for the Yupik early. So they're probably going to be quite free on the Western coast. For me, obviously, if they're having a good game, because if they're having a bad game, all bets are off. If they're having a good game and building good military and pummel poverty point early, as they often do, the biggest cast the dice at that point is what happens with the Aztecs. Because again, the Aztecs are a civ who sometimes are too lax on their army, and sometimes go really, really hard, really early. They could put a lot of pain into the Apache very quickly. Or, as I say, they could leave off. The Apache are just a wild card.
Yeah, I think the other thing with Apache is that, as you were saying about breaking out, in a way, their best option is the bad option of try and kill South America. And at that point, you're running into are they number one now, Civ? Yeah. So, number 2 Civ.
Well, apparently being hosted on somebody else's channel, they're presumably completely clueless as to what the fuck we're going on about. So, welcome to the Civ Battle Royale. Power rankings discussion thread.
19.
We watch computers play each other and pretend it's fun. No, it is fun.
It is fun. I mean, we've been up for I've been up for 23 hours. So
yeah, kind of the same. I had choir practice all day. I'm singing in the Albert Hall, guys. That's happening.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. The Albert Hall.
But yeah, so Apache are random.
Hall in London.
Then we get to the top 3, where the standard deviation for the top 3 goes from 8 for the Apache to 2.5 for the Sami.
So, Sami top 4th? They 4th?
Sami are 4th.
Really? Okay. I think I probably put them somewhere around there, but if I were ranking again today, I think I'd actually put them a little bit lower, like maybe 8th or 9th, because they're powerful and they're scary, but they're just so peaceful. They don't attack. They don't really capture many cities. They build a lot of ranged units, but they're great at tech and they have large cities, and they eat up a lot of land. So they're kind of a Yakutia figure to me.
The lowest the Sami were ranked were 11th, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
We did feel united that they would be at least nearly a top 10 civ.
They go get to the point where they're Yakusha, but they're so close to the Vikings that sometimes they just get so large they roll over in their sleep and kill the Viking.
That's just kind of a classic.
And that alone is impressive because the Vikings are one of the scariest civs, on paper in this game.
But that's what I mean. Do you know what? The Sami are a bit like the Boas then, aren't they? Because they're a civ that are very powerful and can really just kind of squish a lot of other nearby civs with their thumb. They just, most of the time, choose not to because they're...
I mean, Sleepy Boars was a meme, for half of the market.
Yeah, it was.
Then they woke up and killed Ethiopia 10 turns.
By the way, I don't know if Spencer's still here. Hi, Spencer, if you are. He was asking earlier about who we think gonna have powerful religions, and I was drawing a blank. The Sami. The Sami will have the bigger religion.
Noida Water is also...
Noida Water, the unpronounceable religion with a cool little deer symbol. They found that every time.
Noida Water.
3 religions. That's pretty good. I don't know if you're right or not.
Also, Sami have Yoiking, which is yoiking is like one of the coolest cultural things.
Oinking? What?
Yoiking is like basically imagine throat singing but a bit more melodic.
Oh, nice. I'll have to check it out.
The
Anyway,
Eurovision entry,
Sammy.
that chanting was yoiking.
Oh, is that? That was cool. That was great. I loved that. They should have done way better in Norway, by the way. Criminally.
They won the popular vote, so.
Did they? I'm not surprised. It was a very Eurovision-y song. The most robbed ones were Malta. I have no idea why Israel put
I hated Malta when I watched it, but like a week later I was jamming. So
it's so good. Come on, Leon. They were great. Obviously, Iceland were the best, but not for being. They were waving trans flags.
Iceland was. I refuse to believe that Iceland wasn't just your band.
Do you know what? It could have been, couldn't it? It really could have been. Like, that was the point. It was like, why are you at Eurovision? But then it made sense why they were at Eurovision.
It was an ad campaign targeted toward.
So is this a Eurovision discussion group now?
Sammy, I need to say this. Sammy will do almost nothing.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Remember what I said about make a list of their highlights? I see Sammy maybe eating the Vikings, no G, could maybe eat the Vikings. They could maybe mess with Muscovy, but I see them as the spectators with that big, oh my god, what the heck, anytime the entire world can burn army.
Yeah, well, I think that's true, because
Power Rankers hate it.
I've seen test runs, I've run tests and shit up to like turns 200, 300, and in those ones, the Sami, they've sometimes, they actually quite often go after Muscovy. Rarely went after the Vikings in my tests, but quite often ganged up with the Goths on Muscovy and took a lot of the spoils, but didn't do a great deal else. At the same time, every time I've seen a test image through the dev chats or through the PR chats of like a late era test, you always see the Sami, and they're always big.
Yeah. You always see a entirely blue Scandinavia.
Yeah. So I do think that their top 10 ranking is entirely justified. Maybe fourth is too high, but I think the Sami won't win, but I think they will be a massive, massive roadblock to whoever tries to win. Yeah.
Agreed. Sami, I'm going to say it now, Sami are the reason this game doesn't run to.
Ooh, interesting call. Really interesting call. I think it's plausible.
I actually missed out. What did he say?
I want to go to bed.
Because Sami will get so big and just become so resolute, the game will not complete because the other civs won't be able to take out the Sami.
More to the point, they'll have so many units. They'll have so many units that they'll slow down the game to more than 12 hours.
That is true.
Possible. Very possible.
The game will stop before then. I want to just warn everyone because turns in Mark II were up to a week. And Brianna said he's not willing to exceed 12 hours. So the game will stop at some point before.
Let's talk about Uruguay.
Do we have to?
Yes, we do.
Why aren't Uruguay first?
Can we skip Uruguay? Can we come back to them?
You are gay.
Go to the Uruguay.
So Uruguay are broken, guys.
Maybe.
I feel
they're a little less broken than they were.
I feel like
a lot less. I asked them. Very fair.
In a versus, yes.
I think Gaben would still be.
They're my number one, Uruguay. And as I think they probably are some other people's number one as well.
I will say they are only 13th because I still have them at 18th for my ranking.
Yeah, fair. The thing is, I don't want to judge them. Okay, for anyone who's not been paying attention or is out of the loop, because I guess this happened more in the PR chat than the main chat. Uruguay have a very they're made it by our own PR member, Technostar, lovely guy, great developer as it turns out, because he made an AI for Uruguay that was so unique and so much more human-like and powerful. It wasn't fair.
He basically invented like community patch level AI without the community patch DLL.
It was just incredible, and they would just conquer South America by like turn 300 every time.
Yeah.
So we tried nerfing it a bit, and it didn't help. And we tried nerfing it a bit more, it didn't help. And we just kept nerfing it down and down.
Yeah, so
and
basically
down.
There was one time when we nerfed it and it got stronger.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
So what he did basically is he hard coded a specific strategy, like a build order, into them that included a lot of settlers early, and then another settler every so often, and then also made them really know how to use gold, and then every so often, instead of building whatever, all cities would switch to building units, and they'd switch off and build buildings or something. It's crazy.
And they had a percentage-based UA that would give them just, oh yeah, by the way, here's like 500 science. Goodbye.
Yeah, and it put us in a really difficult position because we were like, objectively, this is an incredibly designed civ that's incredibly functional. It's not broken at all. It's working exactly as intended. But it's like Robot Wars. That's not really what AI games were meant to be. You're not meant to make. They're meant to be
it's
more,
like comparing BattleBot.
The AI is supposed
to.
It's like taking Michael Jordan to a kid's game.
He just walks in with a supercomputer and a fucking Gatling gun, and you were just like, "What is
the AI is supposed. The AI is supposed to be bad. That's what makes the game interesting.
If all I'm saying,
yeah, I guess you win, but like,
yeah,
does it really
if
work?
Uruguay do win this, I'm going completely all out in saying any AI manipulating code is an instant disqualification of a civ.
I would agree.
If Uruguay win.
I would disagree. I would say
obviously, if it's incredibly minor, like we're talking...
like Benin UA and stuff, like, if it's stuff to make them like use their uniques in cases of...
that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like
that's
hard coding a build order is over the top.
Although I would want to see a Royale where every civ was given.
In fact,
exactly.
I talked with Techno. The biggest problem with it was that he said it himself. He said that basically then a lot of civs would lose their personality and would have to be custom tuned for every civ.
Yeah,
because the build order that was specifically given was very unique to the benefits and uniques, and
he optimized you.
And he even he written a paper that was like more along the lines of like an AI experiment, and it was like a professional paper, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, what have we got?
He's studying artificial intelligence at university. We should have seen this coming.
Yeah, I mean,
at the end of the day, I think it was almost, if I want to justify the huge nerf we did, and obviously if you haven't caught on, the resolution of the story is we just fucking gutted it.
Yeah, like
we did murder the civ.
I can justify it on a moral level by saying that AI aspect was basically a third unique.
Yeah.
The unique was weird because it was kind of not like a concrete thing, but that's what it was functioning as. And obviously we disqualify any civs that have more than 2 unique features.
And to be clear, I actually had to disqualify Uruguay from Groundhog Day because they were too strong. I put them in the worst start position on the map in a round Mark 10, and they still won every round during testing. So I eventually just threw them out. We would have done that. We can't do that in the Civ Battle Royale though, because we were much too far along when we discovered this problem.
You could genuinely put Uruguay and Tonga start, and I think they could win. And I'm not.
I actually no. I wouldn't say they could win because they wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't grow as fast, and the settler spam.
The naval focus actually, maybe they'd have to. They maybe not good navy enough. But anyway, the point is,
I placed Uruguay actually in Manoa's position for a test.
Yeah.
You could guess what happened.
They won.
I actually can't.
Ottomans all the way down to the Horn of Africa, a couple cities in Madagascar, and randomly the capital of Scotland. I think by turn 600 though. This was
yeah. So here we are with this. Let's move on now because we have moved on.
Yes.
Here we are with this nerfed Uruguay, and they are no longer like the runaway winners of the cylinder. They're now just very, very comfortably the best civ in South America. They're still shit hot.
I wouldn't say that. As I've watched them, and I could comfortably say they are very good. But
Kuikuro is a nerf for Venezuela and a buff for Uruguay.
Agreed.
Yeah, Kuikuro is actually in a scenario where Gran Colombia was in, Uruguay would win. Period. Without doubt. Kuikuro, at the very least, is a close-range distraction, and we know if even the best AIs can be distracted into losing. See Kamags, see the Ching, see just a whole bunch of them. Vikings, a best AI could be distracted into losing and wasting time. The Kuikuro, as long as they are alive, even the unnerfed Uruguay, they were effectively a regular civ. Completely regular civ. In fact, their settlers they would create would become workers for the Kuikuro.
Interesting.
But
they still expanded all the way up to the Kuikuro in this situation, which is still will make them the biggest empire in the world, pretty much.
Oh yeah. This is like the completely. I think in this situation, I am 80% confident we will not have a runaway.
Well, good. I
think there's more of a chance in this game though of really a fairly quick eminent continental powers on at least 3 continents. So Africa, South America, in order, South America, North America, Africa have high chances of one civ within like 200 turns establishing themselves as easily the dominant power.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the one thing, if I can kind of wrap up, because I do want to go to bed, I could say the only thing that would really, in my head, justifies Uruguay not being number 1, and this is meta as shit, is that we had, and Luna will want to keep quiet, we had so many arguments and discussions and worries about them in the in the dev Discord that I have this sneaking suspicion that Rion would probably have just abandoned a run if Uruguay were running away with it. I
agree. Actually, I believe that. I believe that if Uruguay started like really winning in his run, he would just say, okay, there's still something wrong.
Exactly. So that's the only.
I thought for a second
if the run's going ahead, Uruguay can't be doing that good.
I feel like I thought you were about to say what he's actually done is reskinned Senchi's Uruguay and pretended it's the same one.
I hope not.
Anyway, I'm not joking. I made that joke actually in the dev chat. Everyone else obviously disputed it, but I was thinking, I wonder if I could get away with it.
Can we
replace reskin Rhodesia as Canada?
Oh no!
Not new Rhodesia, old Rhodesia. So everything can power drop after radio.
Can we please move to number 2 with the objectively worse than Uruguay Zimbabwe?
Yeah, they are worse.
Zimbabwe
they're way worse
actually in my. I think you guys are underrating Zimbabwe here.
The only reason Uruguay are lower than Zimbabwe is because I rated Uruguay at 18th.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Zimbabwe are Boers. I think that they are a better version of the Boers on the condition that they actually fight. If they roll low biases, Zimbabwe are 20 or 20th to 30th. They're a mid to high tier. If they fight, I think Uruguay might need a competitor. I think Zimbabwe is ridiculously good, and while not disgustingly overpowered, like I believe the Mark III one was rumored to be.
Oh no.
It is really good.
Mark III Zimbabwe is a different mod, I should say.
A lot of the games that I've run, every time I focus on Uruguay, I would look over to Zimbabwe and I'd be like, might want to keep a focus on that. And then I'd look to Kazakhs and I'd be like, might want to keep a little bit of an eye on that as we're balancing Uruguay.
There's a reason the top.
Yeah.
I think they are the runaway best civ in Africa.
Easily.
Here's my thing with Zim. Zimbabwe in general, this mod doesn't get used that much in AI games. People tend to prefer to use the other Zimbabwe mod for some reason,
which is horrendously broken.
Now, I have seen Last Sword Zimbabwe in memory in one AI game, and that was the Last Sword AI game, which was all Last Sword civs, which was made by Kirby ATK 48.
And also worth knowing that Last Sword does have some horrendously broken civs.
Yeah, he does. But the point was, in this game, Zimbabwe were incredibly competent in the sense that they built a very nice army. They were very technologically advanced. But they had 3 cities. Now, on the one hand, very impressive. They had 3 cities, built one of the biggest armies in the game, or some of the furthest advanced in the game. They play very tall. On the other hand, they just didn't declare war. So in that way, maybe they were going to be a bit too much like
Was that the game where they were right next to Alfonso de Albuquerque, who just doesn't declare war on anyone either?
Yes, I think you're right. It was a really weird region where everyone was powerful, but also just like content to live in peace.
Also, can we please have Portuguese overseas empire in season 2?
We're starting where? Starting in Rio?
Goa.
Starting in Goa?
No.
Absolutely not.
I guess
Vagina Gara.
I also want to say about Zimbabwe is that there was at least one test I saw where Ndongo just eviscerated them, and the other top 5 civs, I never saw anyone do that. I never saw anyone do that to the Kazakhs or Uruguay. So it's like they're not.
It's happened to the Sami once, but I think the Sami are an exception in that the Vikings would be a top 5 civ if the Sami weren't.
Yeah, the Vikings. Well, this is the thing though. I think Ndongo. I think Ndongo are right up there with the Vikings in terms of being in a champion side.
If instead of Zimbabwe it was New Rhodesia or South Africa, do you think Ndongo would be top 10?
They are top 10.
Sorry,
they're top 10 right now.
Top five, best on the continent.
Yes.
Sure.
If it was South Africa, yeah. If it was South Africa, I would put everyone in Africa up about 10 ranks just by
that is true, yes.
Yeah, I just
there's no one in that region.
I do think Zimbabwe are good. I think they stand a better chance than Ndongo. I rank them higher than Ndongo, but I don't think they have the killer edge in the same way that it let Boas down in the end. I just don't think they have the fangs for it.
Yeah, fair enough.
We'll see.
And now we get
going to be around for a while, unless they're not.
And now we get onto the civ that somehow has gone from being everyone's clear number 1 except Scissor to everyone's like number 5, then back up to number 1 after Uruguay got nerfed. This is the point I think where we have to start thinking that are Kazakhs just a really good civ? Like, are they almost overpowered?
Well, I think I want to go to Klauberg first because he's actually used Kazakh in a few of his games, and he's quite effect with a lot of AI games, and Kazakhs get used a hell of a lot. So, Clouds, what's your impressions of Kazakhs as?
The Kazakhs are like perpetually 3rd place. They, they do really well. They expand a lot, and they have good infrastructure and good tech and an okay military, and they'll sometimes take over a couple of civs, but they don't win. They don't win games. They won 1 round of Groundhog Day when they were in. To be fair, they started on the end of a peninsula.
Weird fucking map.
Brokenly good Uzbekistan started on the end of a peninsula and lost to Brittany in one of my games.
And they, their problem is, well, 1, they're not aggressive enough. 2, they don't build enough military to defend all of their cities. So they sometimes, like Métis, they drop a few on the periphery. Sometimes, and I think what's going to happen is they're probably going to get steamrolled by somebody else in the very late game. I still put them number 1 because I couldn't think of anyone else who was going to be so consistently powerful, except Uruguay. Well, actually, I did put Uruguay 1 and Kazakh 2nd. But there wasn't anyone else who was going to be as consistent in being strong.
Yeah, that's hit the nail on the head. And as someone, I think, Lordy, you said before, like he kind of went to everyone's 3rd place, but that's kind of why he's come up front. because no one else can really agree who are going to be the steamrollers. Okay, we know Uruguay, but we're all a little placid on them. But no one's really that confident on who's going to be the big Eurasian steamroller. Whereas we know Kazakh's going to be there. And I think it's interesting you say about them always placing third. That's in games where the Kazakhs have a balanced starting place. And there's no two bones about this.
This is the best starting place.
The Kazakhs have one of the best starting places in the game. They have so much room. The land is good. They have some real janky neighbors in the Nenets. And Parthia aren't that solid.
I think the fact is that that you could replace the Kazakhs with Uzbekistan, and Uzbekistan will be number one.
Yeah, maybe.
I think
in Kazakhstan, and would it be number one?
No.
Haiti
no, not even close.
Haiti's expansion is literally one. They would build 3.
You could put Canada, and they would still be number one.
Yeah, I could put if you put Haiti there, they'd still be like at 55 or lower.
But if you put,
I agree.
You're looking at the Sibir started just north of there and had to go down to get to where the Kazakhs are, and they came fourth.
So, in order to explain my heavy skepticism of the Kazakh, yeah, I had to move them up because honestly, everyone else was just doing worse. But for me, the Kazakhs, whenever I do agree that they have pretty janky neighbors, especially the Nenets and Parthia to an extent. But after those, I just don't know where they would go. Because, after you go to the Nenets, you got the Sami. And the Sami are just something that the Kazakhs could not deal with easily. They would have to sink a lot of resources into dealing with the Sami, and that would leave them open to attack by other civs. Same thing if they go west. They try to take Golden Horde. Golden Horde is just good enough of a civ that they can put up a fight and have the Kazakhs expend a lot of their military, which they don't really build a lot of anyway. So Kazakhs, after it gets into a couple costly wars, after they conquer their immediate neighbors, they just kind of fizzle out. And that's what I'm thinking that's going to happen.
I think it's interesting you brought up... sorry, I'm in a really echoey room. I'll just move room. I think it's really interesting you just brought up the Golden Horde, because I think that's kind of one of the big reasons why Kazakhs were ranked so high early on. And why they kind of slipped a little bit to second and thirds, because the Golden Horde was a fucking terrible mod. And in the early test with the Golden Horde in there, they would fill on 2 cities and then fuck off.
Mind you, old Golden Horde were never that bad.
They were never awful, but they weren't as good as New Golden Horde. That's the difference.
Yeah, that is.
So at that point, Kazakhs had one competent neighbor in the Kalmuks, if the Kalmuks expanded that way, and other than that, it was just fuck. Now the Golden Horde are there. I think that is going to check them a bit, and I think that's a positive change. Actually, just
it means the Kazakhs can't steam. The Kazakhs can't and won't just steamroll all the way to the Baltic.
Yeah, pretty much exactly. Now, I still, to be honest, have very high faith in them doing well. And I still personally could see them winning. As you say, Clouds, I think it's likely they will lose a few cities on their periphery in that early game. But that's the thing. They just have so much fucking space that they don't need those cities. I mean, Brazil lost half their fucking empire and bounced back. So the Kazakhs are more than capable of bouncing back.
Brazil took a bloody nose against the Buccaneers, who are also a top 10 civ. So if we think that the Golden Horde or Qing are a top civ, you never know.
Yeah, but it still doesn't mean shit.
There's something I kind of want to mention when it comes to the Kazakhs. They are quite in the old world. They are the center. They are dependent on the entire game's variables. They could be affected in so many ways. It requires an exponential function on a scientific calculator, and even then some numbers to discuss the amount of possibilities that could occur. It is very likely that Kazakhs get big, and then just like Finland, just suddenly die. It is very likely they could get big and get bigger, and then be cut in half, and then lose a good peace deal. There is so many variables, and I don't think they are the ones to chart those variables. I don't think they are the ones to control their legacy like so many others. However,
I agree.
That is pretty much
they have so much bank account that they can survive. They could survive losing the mortgage on their house twice over and still live. But the bank account has to run dry sometime. When will it?
I think that's the core of my criticism of the Kazakhs, because sure they expand and that's nice, but I don't think they got the teeth that the other civs on their periphery do have. So after they get into like the big empires, when Kazakhs finally blew up, they're going to have some rivals in the region, and those rivals are going to be civs that conquered their way up to where the Kazakhs are. The Kazakhs are given that amount of space just by being born, just having their start location there. But the other ones, they fight for that, and they just have that built-in aggression. They have that a bit more military prowess than the Kazakhs do. So the Kazakhs are a big meat shield, and they're a big tank, but that's all they are. They don't have like they have staying power until they meet a rival, and that rival I think is going to kill them.
On the other hand, we've seen this 100,000 times. You get a big aggressive civ, they'll conquer a civ. Their military will be spent, someone will leap on them. And who's to say that won't be the Kazakhs again? Because the Kazakhs do tend to eventually build a decent military. And more importantly, they will declare wars.
They get their horse archers, and then no one can really invade them until like a Renaissance at the earliest, because they just...
They're not pacifist.
Kazakhs don't have any mounted ranged units.
They have the Q guys, the Falcon guys, don't know they're ranged.
They're
not mounted.
No, their uniques are a belding. There are places the circus, but can be built anywhere and provides food. And they have a unique horseman, which is a melee unit, but it has extra movement and it's stronger.
I swear, I thought they had some kind of range thing.
That's such a basic fucking civ. Well, I think this is a lot that we're talking about the number one ranked civ, and yet we basically have only had negative things to say about them.
They have a ridiculous amount of space, they have good biases, and that's basically why they're number one, because they're consistently huge and there's no game, I think, we've ever seen where the Kazakhs have been like eliminated early.
Yeah, and I think maybe they're the only civ who can claim that. I think we've seen Zimbabwe. Okay, apart from Uruguay, but they're a different kettle of fish.
I mean, at one point we did see Uruguay get killed by Venezuela, like when they were both broken.
Okay, fair enough. To kind of wrap things up into a little neat little parcel, before we say goodnight, just
good morning.
Let me give me your craziest part one predictions. Let's go.
Yeah, hottest takes, Admiral first.
Hottest part one takes, Admiral, go.
Let's see. Oh God! Well, not a lot's going to happen in part one, to be honest.
Yeah. Let's go part one and part two.
Okay, part one and part two. I've already heard, because I'll be narrating part two, and I've already heard that things already start to get spicy by part two.
Venice dies.
My hot take is going to be Minoa takes a capital.
By part two?
No, not by part two. But by like part five.
Okay, that's pretty hot.
By part two, I expect Venezuela to be not. I expect Venezuela to be bottom half of the power rankings.
Interesting.
And another hot take, I expect Czechia to also be bottom half of the power rankings.
I think
it turns out Luna is narrating part 3 and has already narrated it.
I actually have not watched I've not even seen a single slide of part 1. All I know is a little bit of something that is current a month ago. That's it.
Hot take: Haiti settles a second city by part 2 from chat.
That is actually a hot take. Congratulations.
I think that's pretty good.
No, I think hot
That's
take.
A spicy boy. That is one take.
I got a hotter take.
My hot take: you peak have a border with either Qing or Korea by the end of.
That is spicy, but I like
that. Is spicy. My
hot take is also to do with Korea. I think Korea will be top 20 in the part 2 power rankings. That's just my gut.
By part 5, a civ is going to have a city settled on an opposing ocean.
Yeah,
be it an American civ in Europe, or a Asian civ in America.
I think that's.
I think the Xia will surround the Qing. By part 4, that's what I'm saying.
Either the Nenets or the Ebangs are not over 3 cities by the end of part 2.
I think you're right about the Nenets. I think that's actually quite a cold take.
Yeah, I think Nenets are definitely going to be under that.
Is there any last things that anyone here wants to say? I do want to give, maybe someone else would be better inclined to give a shout out towards some really good AI games that are going on right now that are not Civ Battle Royale.
There's the Grand Colonization game is the big one I think that's going.
Yes. We've also got Groundhog Day Mark 11.
It's all Groundhog Day is a permanent fixture. It's just always happening. So
yeah, but it's always good. It's always worth checking out.
If you like fantasy games, I'll be releasing the first part of my Warhammer game in the next 4 weeks.
Ooh.
Oh man, it's a shame I hate fantasy games.
Oof.
Burn. Ouch. No, I don't hate. I just never watched one. I don't have time for AI games.
Be the first proper. I genuinely if I do manage to get it out, it'd be the first one I think since Game of Thrones.
Yes, I think you're right.
Anyways, everyone, it's about time we all say goodbyes. 5 hours and 33 minutes.
One more thing.
Oh,
which civ do you support personally? As in, who's your fan civ? Who do you want?
I love man.
Minoa.
I love man.
Indian Canton.
You gotta say your own civs, man.
Absolutely, you pick.
Iroquois are an obvious one. However, I'm going to get outside of something more personal to me. I'm going to actually look all the way to the Nazca. I expect very good of them.
Coyote says Haida.
Haida's.
I love Haida. They're my number 2.
The thing is, right. I have 10 favorites. There's so many civs here that I love. I love Man, Minoa, Palmyra. I'd like to see Beta Israel do well. I'd like to see Ondongo do well. I'd like to see Nazca, Haida, Poverty Point. Actually, Poverty Point may be number 1 at this point. I love them.
Yeah, I guess one last thing. If you could replace any one civ with any other civ in the same region, who would it be?
I'd get rid of Muscovy. I'd get rid of Muscovy, and I would replace them with anyone else.
I would do the same. I would
Latvia.
I'd remove
Latvia.
That would replace Prussia. I'd remove Muscovy and replace them with Kazan. I know that's not a popular choice, but I like that.
No,
I'd remove Muscovy and I'd replace them with that civ that was made by the same person who made Millard Fillmore. Same people.
Konstantin Chernenko.
Yeah, I think it's an actual legit civ that's actually quite balanced.
That wasn't out at the time, though.
Yeah, I know. Okay, ones that are out at the time. Oh, I would definitely just replace it with
Lenin.
Anyone, Lenin, sure. Any Russian. Honestly, there's so many good Russian civs. To ignore any of them is a great disservice.
I would replace Haiti. Put in Taino.
Fair.
Get rid of Haiti. Get out of town.
No, don't get rid of Haiti.
All right, everyone, say your goodbyes.
Guys, I think we should go through the 61 again.
Wait.
You never know. Yeah, see you later.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Night.
Night, guys. Morning.